Oh, okay. No. Ah!
We at CoCoTALK would like to express our appreciation for the patrons who sponsor our show. Thanks go to Al Hartman, Alan Huffman, Alan Murphy, Blair Ledoux, Brendan Donahue, Brian Joyce, Brian Weasler, Christina Armstrong, D. Bruce Moore, Davey Mitchell, Diego, Disney Saints fan, Eric Canales, Fedor Stamen, Grant Leedy, Jason Bucata, Jason Downs, Jenna Farron, Ken Reichard, Kyle Eder, Malfunct, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Richard Lorbieski, Rob Inman, Stephen Wagner, Steve Bjork, Terry Steen, Terry Steggy, The Backyard Shed Gang, Tom C., Tom S., and Tim Lindner. Thank you ever so much, patrons. CoCoTALK is an unscripted live broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own and not necessarily those of the CoCoTALK show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds encouraged, sense of humor recommended. If any off-color comments were made, we're sorry.
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS 80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. It's time to drop your socks, grab your real-time clocks, and let's rock.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. We're here with episode 161 of CoCoTALK. Are you ready?
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, one and all. We've got 22 people watching us live already on YouTube and on Facebook. We've got a panel full of people, and we got some CoCo stuff to talk about this week. Dave and Sharon are out there. James Jones, Curtis Boyle, Terry Steggy, Robert Murphy, Nick Marotta, Paul Fiscarelli's out there in the live chat. Welcome, everybody. We've got a panel of nearly awake people right now. Let's go around the room and check for pulses here. Let's start off with put a mirror under his nose and see if he's still alive. Mark Bosley, are you with us today?
Hello, I'm here. Just barely, but I'm here.
All right. I'm sorry to keep you up, sir. We then have from sunny Arizona, Ron Delvo.
Hello.
Welcome, Ron, from
Thank you.
under, where the kangaroo are scared. David O'Connor is here. Good day, David.
G'day. The kangaroos are terrified.
the men are men and the kangaroo are scared. All right. So from
Not to worry.
From the great white north, L. Curtis Boyle's with us. Good day.
Hello, everyone.
Or should I say, how's it going, eh? Another Canadian, Nicholas Marotta. Welcome to the program, sir. How are you?
I'm good, and apparently self-isolation is exhausting everybody.
It is. I am so tired of doing nothing. It's really wearing me out. The guy with the beard that makes us all jealous, Rick Eulin's here. Welcome, Rick. Whatever you said, I'm sure it was important, but we didn't hear it. That's okay. Rick Eulin's
I was self-muting per.
That's right. We all need to be self-isolating our sound. Need to be 6 feet away. Welcome, Rick. Thank you for being here.
If Rick talks, nobody's there to hear him.
That's right. From the Tandy Shack, Terry Steggy is with us. Hello, Terry.
Hey, everyone. How's it going?
It's going, eh? From CoCoMan.biz, Jason the Coco Man Reichert is here. Hello, Jason.
Hello, and the role of the magnifier hat will be played by myself today in the absence of Mark Overhoser.
Well, that's great. We have to keep traditions up. The guy who likes to optimize things and expand our mental horizons, James Diffendaffer, is here. Hello, James.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. From down under, the Thunder, who has Ferraris and Lamborghinis and all kinds of sports cars from his multi-million-dollar platinum hit-selling color computer games, none other than Nicholas Marentes.
Hey, everyone.
Welcome, sir. From Boyson Technologies, creator of innovative products for the Tandy Color computer, Richard Lorbieski is with us. Hello, Richard.
I'm here under protest.
And we have a person who we definitely want to check him for a pulse, because he's a real kind of a monotone kind of guy. David Ladd, are you with us, and are you feeling anything at this point?
Why, yes, everybody. I'm ready for the show to get started. Are we ready to get this heart-pumping episode going? I'm certainly ready to see what's on the list today. Let's get the show ready to rumble.
Oh my goodness!
A subdued David Ladd today.
You know, my will to live has suddenly just like.
And so the answer to the question is no. He's not feeling anything.
Comfortably numb.
Comfortably numb. Oh my goodness! And I am your guest host this week, Stevie Stroh. It is an honor and a privilege to be here amongst the finest members of the Color computer community that we could assemble on short notice with zero budget. Thank you all for being here.
You'll find it's worth every penny.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're going to jump into everyone's favorite part of the show. You know you love it. It's news.
We're ending
with
already?
L. Curtis
Okay.
Boyle. Yes. So we're going to go ahead and this is a professional show. We've got a produced infographic, and we're going to break right into news with L.
Must be on the wrong
Curtis
show
Boyle.
then.
Yes.
From around the world, what you need to know. Get caught up on News with L. Curtis Boyle.
And now a Muppet News Flash.
All right, take it away, L. Curtis Boyle. And give me a second here to stop sharing my screen. Do you need to share, right?
You kind of fooled me there because you said the favorite part of the show was coming up, so I thought the ending was happening already. So,
yes. All right.
Need to be channeling.
Are you able to
oh,
share?
they changed prompts here. It's actually asking me. You will stop other screen sharing. Do you want to continue? That's new.
Go.
I guess the answer to that is yes, right?
Yeah, but I'm still sharing, and I'm not sure how to stop sharing right now because I've somehow turned off my hover buttons, so I can't find my button.
There's another new button here too. Maybe you can tell me about optimize screen share for video clip.
Don't do that. Don't do
that.
All right, L. Curtis Boyle has the share.
Okay. So first up, and this was a rather interesting bit here, Frank Hogg, who's currently touring America as part of his retirement, decided to post a little bit of the history of the whole TC9 project and how it came to be and some mistakes he made along the way, etc. I know Alan cross-posted it to the Tomcat group too and a few others there. I don't know if we want to read through the whole thing or not, but it's a very interesting read. Bill Noble and I, of course, were involved with the TC9 software, but we were in the second phase because the first phase, Bruce Eisted did it, and then Bob Puppo did it. And then they got busy with the real life jobs, and then Bill and I kind of took over. So we weren't part of the whole initial hardware design stuff that he talks about here. He talks about like buying all the gimmies that were left over at Radio Shack, between 1,000 to 5,000 of them.
Wow.
To put into TC9s and stuff. So I know he said he only sold 25 TC9s. So either he blew up a lot of them or there was a bunch of others that maybe he sold to somebody else afterwards. I'm not sure, but it's a pretty interesting story.
Yeah, and we interviewed Frank a year or so ago, right?
Yep.
Yes. That's neat. Where did all the gimmies go? Does he have them?
Not that I know of. So either he sold them somewhere else or I'm not sure what happened to them. So
5,000 gimmies. Can you imagine?
My one favorite part, though, is he said he didn't really understand the CoCo market well enough. Like, he was an OS9 guy and Flex guy from way back. He was using OS9 before the CoCo had it. And he mentions that his one mistake, one of the mistakes he made was that he did not design it for disk basic users per se. He wasn't even worried about cartridges working or anything else. And he said, that in retrospect, that probably was a mistake because more of the market was there. It was a pretty big market for OS9, but it wasn't the whole market. It wasn't even the majority of the market. So it's a very interesting take.
Yeah. And
well worth the read.
It was interesting where he said he had the opportunity to trademark CoCo because it was not, and he didn't do that either because he could have had the official CoCo 4. So yeah, that was an interesting read.
Yeah. Next up, and I'll let you comment on this, Stevie, because the next two videos are yours. So the first one was about setting up the Raspberry Pi 3B with a CoCo Pi 3 image. Did you have any comments? I'm not going to play the whole half-an-hour video, obviously, but
well, you don't have to play any of it really. So, this was kind of an egg feeding the chicken because I really wanted to show off a video on what I did to kind of map a gamepad to the Raspberry Pi so I could play the CoCo from my living room. And I figured, well, in the process of doing that, I should probably have the latest image because my image is a year out of date. And if I'm going to do a video on how to configure a Raspberry Pi that's already up, then it would probably make sense to do a video on how to set up the Raspberry Pi. So this is like basically everything you would ever need to know about what a Raspberry Pi 3 is, what the Raspberry project is, the CoCo 3 project is, and how to do it. So I've had the Raspberry Pi 3, CoCo Pi 3 thing for 3 years probably, and I got it, and I thought it was neat, but it was sitting around, and I just never did anything with it. And lately, since we're home a lot, and I'm sitting here on my couch talking to you guys on Discord from my headset, I'm like, wouldn't it be nice while I'm sitting here on my couch if I could just play with my CoCo? And that's kind of what started this. So I started saying, well, let me see if I can get the Raspberry Pi going and what I can do with it, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So the two videos are how to get the Raspberry Pi 3 set up to run the CoCo Pi 3 image that Ron Klein has kind of curated. And then the second video is very specific to what I call armchair gaming, where if you want to be able to just control your CoCo and load cartridges from your joystick and not have to press any buttons and kind of make your CoCo run like a game console, like what I do on my Xbox, that was my goal, and I got as close as I could get within what MAME and everything allows. So that's what those two videos are all about.
The Home Depot is here to...
And I also did mention Home Depot in that video too. So
is that where you got your case?
That's exactly where I got it from. So, but that's me explaining it all. If anybody has any questions about it here on the panel or in the chat, feel free to fire them away. And I've asked Ron Klein to pop in today if he can too, because I'm not the expert in in Raspberry Pi, or even in the whole CoCo Pi thing. But I'm now a fan and a user of it.
So it looks like you were going through MAME settings and stuff too.
Yes. So
does any of that apply to general MAME as a?
Yeah, exactly. It does. It applies to MAME, but it's applying to MAME how I'm running it on my CoCo Pi because I want to be able to do it from my living room. But yeah, these same settings on how to map your joystick to MAME for the CoCo and for the MAME user interfaces, this would be true for any version of MAME on any platform.
Cool. Yeah. I haven't had a chance to actually watch it yet because this week has been kind of busy for me, as you know.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And when we get to project updates and acquisitions, I'll have something to show off that now I'm buying toys for Raspberry Pi since I'm using them.
We've enabled you.
Yes.
Okay, so keep tuned for that there when we get Stevie's next segment. Next up, this was a rather interesting little post. It's actually indirectly from Frank Hogg. It's something he posted way back in the day that Carlos Camacho found and put up. And it's kind of talking about, and this is from Soft News. So this would have been about 83, 84 somewhere. But it basically talks about the CoCo 2 coming out with a new keyboard, placing it around the second half of September, or like around 83 there. Because the CoCo 2 came out, I think, almost 2 months after the CoCo. They were announced at the same time as the 64K CoCo, but it actually didn't get released to the public for about 6 weeks afterwards. And this is also talking about the deluxe CoCo at the same time and what was all planned. And what Frank had at this point in time was pretty well dead on. It had the sound chip, it had the new expanded keyboard with extra keys, it had the ACIA chip built in, and everything else talked about here. So it's kind of an interesting snapback at history of what the rumor was, how close it would have been if the deluxe had ever gotten actually released, and also kind of the the sad fact that it never did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's neat. I don't know where Carlos gets this stuff from, but it's cool. I'm glad that he does. He's becoming the second best archivist in the community next to Boise Pete. I mean, Boise's got a ton of history and stuff, and Carlos is a close second there.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, the GCCC president himself, Eric Canales, has written a utility, and then this is involving the MAME debugger, which I assume that can also run from the Pi 3 if you set it up correctly. Is that correct?
Honestly, I don't know. There's limited screen real estate only allows the main thing. It's running at a fixed 4:3 resolution to just focus on the CoCo stuff.
Oh, okay. So maybe not then.
Yeah.
At any rate, what it does is that when you run the MAME debugger, it shows you a raw disassembly of the code while it's running. And what Eric wanted to do, because he noticed there's a spec inside the MAME documentation that says you can actually link it to source code. So instead of just showing like a memory address and it's loading A with 52 or whatever, it's storing it at this memory location, you can link it to actual source code. So your comments, your labels, like if you called, memory location 3000 joystick X or something like that, it'll actually merge that in together. So when it's running live in real time, it'll actually show you your comments, your labels, and everything else. When you're looking at the code, you're not looking at notes on the side trying to figure out what that memory location did. It actually will say load A from joystick X, and all of it. I'm getting the X coordinate of the joystick thing. So he's still tweaking it and still doing some additional things to it, but I'm definitely planning on using this once he gets it finished up here, because I would make some of my MAME debugging a heck of a lot easier, especially with Nitrous 9 stuff. And even if I'm just trying to patch a game or something, if I figured out a few things, rather than me having to remember what they were, I can just add these little labels, etc. And then when I'm running it, it'll actually obviously explain what it's doing as it's running. So excellent debugging.
And what I would say about this too is that this is one of the few things posted on Facebook that got a favorable comment from Eric Gaverluck.
That's not really his tradition or style, as you were.
Yeah. That's neat.
But you can see, like in this one screenshot here, it's actually pulling in on the right-hand side some of the comments he had, like index, say, and loop, jump loop type thing. So it's actually grabbing in labels, etc. So it's a pretty interesting project to get it working. I didn't really realize that the MAME debugger even had that option.
Yeah.
And then it sounded like it was a bit of a pain in the ass to use when I first did hear about it. But he's actually writing a utility now to kind of solve that problem. So any of you code developers there that are working in assembly language, I would highly recommend keeping an eye on this project. And once it's out, I'd probably use it.
Okay. Neato.
Next up, our own David O'Connor here is going to be starting a new I'm not going to be. He has started a new 609 website. This is going to be concentrating on 609 projects that he's been working with. And that's not just CoCo stuff, though it does include them. It also includes some synthesizers, etc. And since David's on the call, I figure we might as well let him kind of explain what the purpose is and what he's planning to add to it and everything else.
Yeah, well, it's originally I was just focusing on setting up a website focused solely on the CoCo 1, 2, and 3. So I registered CoCoTweaks.com, which is still registered, and I will point it to the CoCo section of the new website. But there was a couple of things that arose with the CoCo Tweaks. I thought that was a pretty sort of easy thing to type in. But then some people, including Stevie and others, have been saying, "Oh, is it spelled Tweaks TWEEKS or EAKS?" And I thought, "Oh, now I've got to explain how the spelling of Tweaks is." And a good URL is self-explanatory. You say the URL and someone can type it in easily. And so then recently I started getting involved in some other projects. And one of the big projects that I'm involved in now is restoring the Fairlight CMI, which is for those not in the know, was a major instrument in the 80s. Most of the big name acts, Duran Duran, Kate Bush, Peter Gabriel, just about everybody in the 80s who made any hit songs, Michael Jackson, they had an involvement with the Fairlight CMI. It's an instrument that's got a light pen and you can touch a CRT and you can sequence things and sample things and do all sorts of stuff on it. Art of Noise used it almost exclusively for their music. Anyway, it actually uses the 2X version, which is the one that's the most well-known, actually uses a 6809 processor as well. And I've also got a Ensoniq Mirage here, which I've been doing some work on. That also uses a 6809. And of course, our CoCo 1, 2, and 3s all use 6809 processors. And I figured, well, I wanted to set up a website where I'm actually talking about the CoCo project and some of these other projects. And I was thinking, rather than having 3 separate websites when it's a similar, there's a common link to 6809, I thought I'll see if I can find a good 6809 URL, register that, and put everything on the one website. So last week I went through the process of searching variations on 6809 to try and find something that was available, and 6809cpu.com was available, and I thought, great, I'll grab that. That's easy to remember. It's easy to say. There's no ambiguity about how to spell it. So yeah, it's very early stages at the moment. And that picture of the 6809 that you're seeing on the screen there is actually one I desoldered from one of my CoCo 3s when I put 6309 in it. So that's actually that's my photo. And I'll be the first thing I'll be doing this coming week is putting up on the CoCo part of it the details of my CoCo 1 composite mod, circuit diagrams and basic programming you can download for calibrating it, and a few other things. I'll be putting up the project I've been talking about on the show a number of weeks now, the CoCo 3 into a Model 4 case. That project will be documented on there as well. And I'll have a blog section there where people can ask questions, and I can answer questions and whatnot, and we can discuss things, and that's what a blog's all about. So yeah, it's early stages at the moment, and I've only just started, literally 2 or 3 days ago, actually got it up and running. But there's a little Easter egg in there too, and it's something that's kind of appropriate to the show. When I set it up using WordPress, and using a default template, and it had a thing, the contact us thing for a business thing. I thought, I don't need that. And then I thought, oh, wait a minute, contact us. It's got address and it's got hours. And I thought, oh, so if I don't know if you can see the website on there, Curtis, if you can scroll down to the bottom of the website, actually click on the site itself.
The site itself, okay.
Yeah. It should, in theory, should come up. Yep, there we go. If you scroll down to the bottom,
you spelled color correctly. Address 00 to FFFF, right? So
needs a real-time clock.
These are hours. Needs a real-time clock. There you go. So
yeah. So that's the beginning. As you'll see on there on that home screen there, if you scroll back up, you'll see there's I'm going to make the sections easy to find.
Oh, that Fairlight thing is looking neat. I've never seen one.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah, that's the. I'm actually working with Peter Welk, who was one of the original guys. He was Peter Gabriel's Fairlight tech. He worked with Duran Duran. He's worked with who's who in the music industry, basically. And I've teamed up with him, and he's got a huge amount of stock that he bought from Fairlight when Fairlight closed shop. So he and I have embarked on a project to get as many of these old beasts back up and running as we possibly can, and in exchange for my time, I'll have my very own Fairlight 2X here in my studio. So yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. I'm pretty excited about that.
Neat. Well, thank you for that. You encompass 2 of my passions from the 80s, which is the CoCo and electronic music. These are things that I've been very passionate about, and you exemplify those things very well. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, it's absolute joy. I love it.
Now we just have to get them to reprogram it for the 6309 and put some more oomph in those synths.
we may actually end up putting some 6309s in some of the Fairlights, depending on how many we need and what stock we've got available. So there should be no reason why the Fairlight won't run with the 6309.
Oh, it should run. I mean, it's a pretty well compatible chip, but I'm thinking you guys could actually do some extra things you couldn't have done back in the day, using the 639 native mode and extra instructions, etc.
Yeah, possibly.
128th notes.
Yeah, perfectly in sync.
Neat.
And you'll notice that the CoCo photo. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I was just going to say the photo of the CoCos on there is actually my 4 CoCos. Yeah. My personal CoCo collection. So.
Well, we'll definitely keep an eye on the site there. So let us know if you have any major updates in case I missed them.
6809cpu.com, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And I'll be posting updates when I do updates on the site. I'll put it on the Facebook groups, and I'll stick it in Discord. And I'll mention it on the show. So.
We don't have Mark Overholzer this week to put the links in chat for us. Can anybody pull up the show notes and put them out in chat? Are the show notes in our news section in Discord? Okay.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Hey, next up, and Brian Weasler's not here today, is he?
No.
Okay, because this is one of his. Now, we've known for a while that Kraft originally sold their joysticks directly to CoCo owners for a little bit of time before Tandy decided to make a deal with them and start selling the deluxe joystick, which is basically a Kraft rebranded. But some of the original Crafts were actually had a gray casing instead of white. And I've seen white Crafts before. I remember seeing the CoCo Fest, but I've never seen the gray ones for the CoCo specifically.
Neat.
They actually have the proper, DIN connector on the back for that. So that was kind of neat. And of course, it has the Kraft branding. So that's a fairly rare. And Brian's been getting good at finding some of these rare software and hardware items.
Yes, absolutely.
And
I've got a pair of the original Kraft ones on my CoCo behind me, but they're the white ones. They're not grey. So I've never seen grey ones either. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't think they were available too long, from what I gather. Next up, this has been kind of a fun one. It's a kind of a going back and forth between Alison Deneau and Paul Fiscarelli. Is this the right story or is this a different one?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's the right one. So basically, Allison made a sample disc that includes some stuff that she encrypted on the CoCo and basically challenged people to try to break the encryption. I don't think she was expecting it to get broke quite as quick as it happened. But basically, she posted this on May 18th. And then Paul Fiscarelli posted a video explaining how he cracked it 2 days later.
On May 20th. hold my beer.
So, yeah, that was kind of interesting. And then I just noticed that late last night, she actually has fixed some of her algorithm to fix some of the issues that allowed Paul to break it and has now re-put the disc out with a new encrypted message in it and reissued the challenge again. So I don't know if Paul's already starting on that
now,
yet or not.
Do you know what the message was?
I don't know off the top of my head. I said, I kind of went through these stories quick today. But
Paul Fiscarelli told me I started watching the video, but I didn't finish. So the message is "Welcome to CoCoTALK." So it was actually an Easter egg in there for us because we featured one of her games a few weeks ago. So I thought that was.
It's not cool. Drink your Ovaltine.
Drink your Ovaltine, yes.
Yeah. Drink your Ovaltine in quarantine. Yep, that was us.
Yeah, that's neat. But Paul's a pretty shady, shifty character. But what you're looking at here is his disk tool, and he was able to pull hex dumps and stuff from the disks and look at things, and then use a lot of that to kind of reverse engineer some of the encryption. So his video is pretty in depth, and yeah, Paul. I mean, look at this. This is like a freaking cyber code cracker level stuff going on here, which is pretty cool.
This is more Matrix-y than the Matrix was.
Oh, absolutely. So now the tool that Paul is using is one that he has been working on for a while. I remember seeing this at the first Tandy assembly 3 years ago, and he's still working on this tool, but it's one that lets you look at disk images. And I think it was originally designed to kind of catalog all your disks so you know what's on all your disk images, but it gets so much further in here. You kind of get these hex dumps and maps of what's on your disks and your sectors. It can launch disks into VCC. It can detokenize a basic program, and you can look at the source code in a window. It just does a million things, and he's been continuously working on this. So I look forward to when this tool is kind of out in public.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't had a chance to actually watch the video here, but.
Oh, Mark B, you trying to post on Discord? Mark, just post any old message in Discord real quick, Mark, and then I'll make you a moderator to let you do that.
You mean on YouTube?
On YouTube, yeah. Post a message on YouTube, Mark, real quick, and then I'll moderate you so you can post links there.
Anyway, it's been a really cool challenge. So, and the fact that it's going on to round 2 now is interesting. I'm looking forward to see if Paul can crack that. You want me to let the chat catch up for a bit?
No, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so that's neat.
Okay, next up here. Yeah, this is where Allison has posted the revised challenge.
Okay.
I think this will be Paul's Waterloo. Not really, but I bet it'll take him longer than an hour this time.
An hour and a half.
And here's another CoCo Pi 3 project, which like I said, I kind of was rushing this stuff through, so I haven't had a chance to really look at these in detail. But from my understanding here, this is a CoCo Pi that's in a CoCo case, and it has a cartridge interface that interfaces to the Pi with the ribbon cable coming out, so you can just unplug it when you need to. But you can actually plug in hardware projects into the Pi itself that look to be maybe CoCo pin compatible.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure if I'm understanding that right. So David Brenneman, if you're in chat or if you see this later, correct me if I'm wrong.
Speaking of in chat, Paul Fiscarelli says the second one has already been cracked.
That took less. It was 2 days to make his first video. Now it's 1 day and he's got
hold my beer. Yeah.
Hold my other beer.
Yeah. So remind me because I'm going to do a little Cocoa Pie discussion when we get into updates. But yes, and speaking of Paul Fiscarelli too, so he has an adapter that can convert a CoCo keyboard to USB that you can then plug into a PC or your CoCo Pie. And I know Ron Delvaux has a CoCo Pie and a CoCo case with a real keyboard. And Paul's also making adapters to adapt CoCo joysticks to USB that you could plug into your CoCo Pie. So you could actually house a CoCo Pie in a CoCo shell with a CoCo keyboard and CoCo joysticks, and they would all work on the CoCo Pie.
Now, a quick question. I don't know if you know the answer to this, Stevie, but does that also work on a Mister?
I would assume so, because all he's doing is converting them to generic USB inputs.
Because on the Amigos CoCo group, they're both Aaron and another guy, Graham from Australia, both have gotten Misters now, and they're talking about getting that same interface if it works with it, and doing the same thing, just using a Mister instead of the Pi itself.
I'm going to naively assume so, because they are literally just generic input devices, and if the Mister accepts USB for controllers, for keyboards and controllers, then they should work.
Cool. I will let them know that it sounds like it's possible, but I'll let them one of them be the sacrificial lambs.
I would have them maybe ping Paul Fisk. I would hate to have them spend money and me be wrong, but I would say there's got to be a 98% chance that it should work.
Okay, yeah, I'll tell them to contact Paul and Roger Taylor to make sure.
Yeah.
Because Graham literally just got his running yesterday, and he was showing me some screenshots. He was having a couple of issues, but it was more like software configuration stuff. So.
And Paul Fiscarelli says as long as the Mister keyboard is using traditional MAME keyboard mapping, it should work.
Okay, I will check with Roger then and pass that on. Next up, and I was hoping Alan would be here to discuss this too. He's usually been on the show quite a bit lately. So this is a sequel to one of his previous ones on using else and go to in BASIC and what runs faster, what runs slower. And he's kind of got a part 2 here, going through and explaining some optimizations and stuff, and just general notes on how BASIC itself, the interpreter, works. And this one is basically where you're putting line numbers that you're going to or go subbing to, and then what the speed differences are. Like I said, I didn't really get to read it in too much detail, but if you've been following all of Alan's basic optimization blogs, and he's had a ton of them, keep following them, because he's keeping coming up with more. And if you follow all of this kind of stuff that he's been doing, you can speed up some of your basic programs pretty drastically.
Yeah, he's on a roll.
That's really
faster
cool
than
stuff.
Basic 09.
No, not even close.
not quite.
You've got a Volkswagen Bug running slightly faster. It's still not a Ferrari, sorry to tell you.
On a side note, if you drop else from the interpreter, you can make BASIC a lot faster.
If you dropped else from the interpreter completely.
Yep.
Wow.
That's what the MC10 did, right?
Nope. They
did the MC10
wasn't the Commodore 64 or something
that.
Or the VIC-20 or something?
What's that?
I said the VIC-20 of the Commodore didn't have it though, didn't they? One of them?
Microsoft didn't put in the necessary optimization to take advantage of it. So
okay, so it's just sloppy coding that's drastically slow, not
right
inherent problem with else. Because Basic 9's else actually has direct jump labels to the code. It doesn't have to recount going through. So
right.
So if you,
and I'll stop before Stevie Rage quits, because we're getting into the technical weeds here.
Exactly.
Well, there goes my.
Next one. This is a new to me anyway, YouTube channel called Taking Things Apart, or Take It Apart. And out of the blue, they decided to take apart an MC10. And it's a about a 4-minute video. So he actually doesn't have any music or anything running in the background. You get to hear him rifling on the screwdriver and stuff, and going through and showing some of the stuff that he has with it and what the keyboard looks like up close. And then he starts actually literally taking it apart, showing that he's voided his warranty, so he can't get this fixed anymore.
Is there another site for putting back together?
No. It's like any child, taking apart a wall socket or something, so you're on your own. And there he's got the case off, and you kind of see the insides before you start pulling everything apart. So I just thought it was kind of interesting. I'm going to kind of monitor his page here and see if he gets further into it, because basically he just literally took it apart and stopped. He didn't like identify chips or anything else. So I don't know if he's got plans on doing some upgrades or what he's doing, or if it's just, I mean, the title of his channel is "Take It Apart." So maybe that's all he does. I don't know. Okay, this is the one that was pointed out to me that I'd missed in Discord earlier from Canadian Retro Things. Posting a video showing using a stereo to load programs on an MC10. Now, James, you were the one who kind of pointed this out. I haven't had a chance to watch the video, obviously. So do you want to kind of give us a little bit of background on what he's doing here?
Okay. Well, that's his intro right there. So that's not the MC10, but he obtained a cable that he didn't know what it was, and it turned out to be a Radio Shack cassette cable, but it had been modified to use RCA jacks. And so he goes through figuring out which jack is hooked to what, and then he hooks it to his, I believe it was a 1986 home stereo, the RCA jacks for the cassette, and he proceeds to load and then save from the computer to it. And I have done this myself. You can load and save from a regular cassette deck, but he goes kind of through the process, and you can kind of see what he did. So,
is there anything special you have to do for stereo, or is it basically just duplicating the same thing on both sides?
You can either record to one channel, or you split it and record to both channels and play back on both channels and just mix it. So it's not ideal to just hook them both to this both together, but
yeah, as long as you isolate one of them, it should work.
Yeah. I just used one channel. So
one other little tip I've got for doing that too, I've done the same thing with other tape decks. If the deck has Dolby noise reduction on it, turn off the Dolby noise reduction.
Yes.
Don't use it during record or play.
Yeah, it kills the high sounds, which
are critical. Yeah.
Are critical. That hurts. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say, like, just from scrubbing through it here, just briefly, because this is the first I've actually had a chance to watch it. My favorite part is watching him try to type on that tiny little keyboard.
Oh yeah.
I gotta say, when I saw one of Canadian Retro Things videos with his Hawaiian shirt, I'm thinking, wait a second, is this guy shopping at the same place Steve Bjork does?
Yeah, and Weird Al and
Leo Laporte.
Yeah.
Yeah. The nice thing about using that type of cassette deck is you don't have to worry about the tone control when you're playing it back, and you only have to worry about setting the recording level when you save something.
Oh, that's another tip too. Set the record level to 0 on the VU meters when you're doing it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it looks like a pretty interesting video, and he's had a lot of stuff. He's joined our Discord here in the last few weeks too, so he's becoming quite active in the Discord community. So I'm looking forward to other things he's doing. I think he's ordered a CoCoSDC for his CoCo 3 too, hasn't he? Or his CoCo 2, I mean. So hopefully he'll get onto that stuff too and show some videos on that.
And he plays games.
Okay, now my little bit of news.
Asparagus.
No, it's nitrous 9. It's better than asparagus. Tastes better too.
I thought we were changing that.
Do you have that special wrapper we can put back on now? No, I'm just kidding. So basically two minor updates here. I've been bouncing back and forth doing things. I've been updating the games page for the first time in a long time too. There's been over 30 new games added. Well, not new, 30 old games added to the list in the last couple of weeks. So if you guys are not prone to checking it because I updated it so damn rarely, then you might want to start again. There's also the RSS feed, as Tim Linner reminded me, because I think most people don't use that anymore, but it actually sends the updates out so that you get notified when I do updates. And I plan on continuing till the end of the month to try to do some more and catch up some more as well. The other thing I've been working on before I get back into ease of use, which I won't be getting back into until June, I basically dedicated May to catching up some other things, is been working on documentation. So I've actually made a sub page off the ease of use page just for documentation. Now, a lot of it is the stuff like the ease of use updates, which is basically just the little list of everything that's changed between versions. If you guys find a bug that wasn't in a previous version, you guys can kind of tell me what versions it is, maybe even highlight something I might have changed that might have screwed it up. The boot process explains been there before. The beginner's documentation here, which is basically if you're new to Nitrous 9 completely, and it's basically just enough to get you started, get it booted up, how to run the G shell and how to do some basic stuff on the command line, but not getting too much into the weeds. I'm going to be working on that. I've gotten some suggestions from multiple people to make this a bit easier or expanding it to help you do some other things that I hadn't thought about. So I'm hoping to have an update to that one within the next 2 weeks, once I actually finish talking with all these people and kind of try to amalgamate it all together. And then the other two things here that we've been doing, one is I've put up the Bob Vanderpool VD manual. That's my preferred text editor. And this is Bob's own documentation that when he sold the program as commercial back in 88, 89. So this is a full screen text editor with macros and global search and replace and, clipboard buffers that save to disk and all kinds of stuff. And it's the complete manual. There is built-in help in VD, which will help you, try to remember what keys do what, but this actually goes into detail of how to set things up and how to change defaults for the program and all kinds of detail in there. So it's a really good manual. So that's available up on there too, and I did get Bob's permission for that. And then the second one is we're finally starting to work on the OS9 Level 2 manuals, because one thing that's kind of bugged me, and this is back for me when we did Nitrous 9 commercially, is that we weren't documenting all the secrets that were hidden away that they hadn't documented, or any of the new stuff we've been adding. Now, Boise had started a project in 2004 of actually taking the original OS9 Level 2 manual, which is that big, huge 1,000-plus page sucker, and had started typing in some of the sections and then changing some of the terminology to say Nitrous 9 instead of OS9. Some of the module names had changed, so he was making that so that the manual matched more what the current Nitrous 9 was. But they never really started adding on all the new extra stuff that's been added or the new hidden features we'd found. So that's what we're trying to do here. And the first section of the Level 2 manual, the Windows section, which is all the display codes for doing graphics drawing and special text characters and windows and all that kind of stuff, is the first part we've done. It was vetted by a few of us. There's a few of us involved in the project. Jay Searle is doing most of the actual typing and layout stuff. Lord Dragon Todd Wallace, because he's actually been actively programming as a new user to Nitrous 9, is kind of going through and testing to make sure we've got everything accurate and understandable from the new programmer perspective. And then Bill and I kind of vet the final versions here to make sure that, technically it's matching what actually is happening. So the first part here is basically the original manual with all the extra commands. Some of the commands now have extra options added on. And basically, as far as we can tell right now, this is completely caught up to beta 5. And there's even some special sections here because these aren't in the repository yet. Some of the new stuff is in the repository version of Nitrous 9 2. The newer stuff will be getting there eventually once we get a chance to clean the code up. But there's a few sections you'll see highlighted in gray that are ease of use specific. And I'll even tell you which version of ease of use that particular feature was added on. I'm trying to find one. Yeah, here's one here, for example. So this one's mentioning on the font command that all the fonts are loaded by default. So you have access to all of them in your programs instantly. And you can depend on that being that way when you write programs. So if you want to switch between a font that has fancy graphics characters like Rogue, and then you want to switch back to a Gothic font for some, sign that you've got on a church steeple or something in a game, and then you want to switch to the IBM font because it just looks better to read text, you can just instantly switch between them all. And there's a few of those little specific things of new features that are added. And now we're currently working on the technical reference manual. This is the all the API calls, the system calls, and plus how Nitrous 9 kind of works under the hood and some details if you want to write your own driver and that kind of thing. And that one is going to take a while because that's got the most changes. There's a ton of stuff in there. There's the whole VRN system's not in here because that wasn't part of standard OS 9. Microware and Tandy themselves, I know of at least 6 system calls, getstat and setstat calls that were in OS 9 right from day one that they never documented. I have no idea why. They're quite useful. Quite a few in RBF and a few others too. And then all the ones that Bill and I have added over the years too. So there's a bunch of stuff that's going in there. So that one's going to take a long time. It's also a much larger manual. I think this one ends up being like 60 some odd pages. Now Jay has reformatted it for 8.5 by 11 inch paper. So if somebody has a laser printer at home and they actually want to print a physical copy because it's easier for them to peruse on their desk, you can. And he's even talking about possibly once the entire thing's done, if we get permission from Alan Battinger at Microware, of actually maybe making it an on-demand printed version of it for anybody who wants to have a full new printed version. It'll be an 8.5 by 11 versus the smaller size the original is.
Wow.
So that you can actually have a printed
This is really impressive, honestly.
I'd definitely be up for a print copy of it.
Yeah, we'll have to find what the cost is going to be because, like I said, the manual's friggin' huge.
Right. This looks really nice. This looks like a real document. you know?
Yeah. Well, we can thank Boise for that, because he actually started converting it over to Word. So it actually is like a really WYSIWYG thing. And we've now moved it to LibreOffice just because it's cross-platform more easily. The final versions, like this one you're viewing here, is actually PDF. So that's viewable on pretty well anything, including phones and whatever else you want to look at it on. So you want it on your tablet beside, you can do that too. And it's searchable. It's a searchable PDF. So you can just, look for keywords and find them. We're going to keep the sections separately for now. Once the whole project's done, I might make a master version that actually has the entire thing together in one shot, like the original manual was. So if you're looking for something, but you're not sure what section it might be in, you might be able to just do a search and find it. So, and, as we add more features, as more betas come out, and once we get into full-blown versions of Nitrous 9 ease of use, then we'll keep updating these too. That'll be a nice thing too. You can just come download the new version as soon as it's out.
Right.
But, that's one of my big
Let me
side
just
projects.
add another Nitrous 9 footnote here, because I've been playing around with the CoCoPi image. The latest update to CoCoPi on the main menu screen has the ability to launch a Coco with the latest ease of use beta on it. And there's a utility menu where you can always pull the latest version too. So he's got the CoCoPi talking to your server. So if you want to get the latest, greatest version of Nitrous 9 and pull it into your CoCoPi, you can do that and then launch it right away from the main menu. Coco 3, with the latest EOU beta. It's really cool. And I've already tried it out. And because it's running on the CoCoPi too, you could turn off throttling, where the emulation would run as fast as the machine was, and you could get some really fast Nitrous 9 booting up of stuff on there and doing things. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, Rescue Fractalus runs really good on that super high speed. And that's all I have for the news, except for I believe Boysen Tech has an announcement to make, so I'll stop sharing.
Okay. I'm not sure if Richard's ready for that, or if we need to take a commercial break or not. Richard, you're muted right now, but... All right. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I will go ahead and we're going to run a community commercial break, and then we'll be back. All right, hold on. Richard, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to get used to Zoom here. If you want to take a commercial break, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll do a brief commercial break, and then we'll be back with some updates from Richard Lorbieski and Boyson Technology. Stay tuned, boys and girls.
Hi, this is Eddie Zerbinski from beautiful Quebec City. Vous écoutez CoCoTALK.
As you're enjoying CoCoTALK, we also want to remind you about the CoCo Discord server. This is a place where people come to connect, to ask questions, to provide answers, to share information, and to socialize. So when you're done, why don't you head on over to the CoCo Discord server and we'll continue the conversation there. The easy to remember link is discord.cocotalk.live. See you on Discord. CoCo123 is the Glenside Color Computer Club community newsletter that's been in publication since 1985. While the Rainbow magazine may be gone, it doesn't mean you still can't have a cool CoCo periodical. Head on over to the Glenside Color Computer website at glensideccc.com and then click on the Documents link to view all the past issues of the CoCo123 newsletter. Not only can you read all of the past and present issues, we'd also love to hear some submissions from you. So if you'd like to send an article, a column, something to talk about, maybe even a program listing, send an email to glensideccc@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. The CoCo World Map is a cool community resource where you can view coconuts from around the world. Head on over to map.cocotalk.live and see where your fellow coconutians happen to be living on the planet Earth. If you would like to submit yourself to be on the CoCo Map, send an email to cocotalk@cocotalk.live, and we look forward to seeing you on the CoCo Map. Hey guys, it's time for everyone's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord This Week? Well, this week we'd like to send a welcome to Chris Peralt, Chris Coolings, and Just a Jeffy. Also like to give a special thanks to David Ladd, Rob Inman, and Alpin Grace for boosting our Discord server. You can join us on Discord by going to discord.cocotalk.live. See you on Discord, everybody! Let's take a moment to welcome who's new to the Color Computer World Map. This week, Michael Pitsley joins us from Granby, New York. Welcome to the map, Michael. If you'd like to be added to the Color Computer World Map, check it out at map.cocotalk.live or send an email to cocotalk@cocotalk.live.
Stevie, quick question before we get into the Boysen tech here. Just for those that don't know, including myself, what exactly does it mean by boosting the Discord server?
That's a great question. So Discord is free for everyone to use, but you can become a subscriber of the Discord developers, right? And that's what's known as a thing called Discord Nitro. And I think there are different plans where you can pay.
Sorry.
And so the money goes to Discord itself. So Discord is essentially a free service, but they also have a way you could become a paid member to support its development. And if you become one of those members, one of the abilities you have is to do what's known as boosting a server. And then I think when you boost a server, that server gets certain perks from being boosted. And that's the general thing. But more specifically, I'm not even exactly sure.
That was the longest winded I'm not sure I've ever heard.
Okay. Well,
That's not an answer I've ever heard.
So essentially, you said nothing in a long amount of time.
Would you like me to repeat it?
Okay.
Yes,
hey,
David,
do you know what that means?
All right. So the first thing is at least when you become a paid subscriber, there's two tiers. But when you're at the what they would consider the regular tier, which is tier 2, you can upload, I think, up to 100 meg file instead of your normal 6 or 7 meg limit. And then when you're boosting a server, there's extra perks that you get, like increased resolution on your streaming through the Discord server. You get extra bandwidth increases for that. But yeah, other features like that would have to actually check the Nitro benefits to see.
Well, better streaming quality. I mean, you guys have been doing a lot of streaming through Discord lately, and multi-streaming, like for some of the game stuff, so you can actually increase the balance so it's not choppy. That would be a good thing. And 100 meg upload limit. I mean, I could actually distribute, ease of use literally on Discord too as an option as well.
Okay, let's see here. I'm looking at the server boost screen right now. It says boost a server and get a member list icon next to your name. Well, that's a given. A shiny profile badge that changes over time. Ooh, an exclusive new role in that server.
Now, how much would you pay?
Room for more custom emojis. So when you are a subscriber, I believe your servers, you can have custom emojis that are only available on
like
that
we could
server.
have Coco-centric emojis or something.
Well, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. They've got ghosted out ones.
I'm already going to pre-decline any Nitrous 9 related emoji that's requested.
David and I will force them on you, so don't worry about it.
Better quality for voice channels and go live, which was one of the things that I just mentioned, and bigger upload size for all server members. So it doesn't specifically say what those sizes are. I guess you'd find out when you try to upload a file and it gets rejected.
We can upload larger files now.
Yeah, so because we're already boosted, we can upload larger than the original, like 8 megabyte attachments or something like that. So yeah.
But I do have a question about the upgraded or the higher quality of the voice calls. Is that just the acoustic or actually improving the content?
I do not believe they can control the content.
They just ban people that are boring, so I'll be off pretty shortly. So.
Yeah, you're gonna still join us, Jason? It depends.
Well, we got to see where we boost that quality. I can only go so high.
Had a knob named Brightness, but it didn't work.
Wow.
I do have a question about the boosted server. If say there's 2 members that boost a server and somebody uploads a bunch of like 80 meg files, and then later on people decide they don't want to boost it anymore, do those files disappear or do they stay there?
I don't know.
I don't think so, because there was for a little while I wasn't subscribed and the files that I'd uploaded to people were still there. It's just that you can't upload new ones at the file size until you subscribe. So
Right.
Is this a monthly thing or what?
Yeah, I think the money goes to Discord, the Discord organization, right? So it's like, I think just somewhere between $5 and $12 per month. You can subscribe and you can boost. You can become a Discord Nitro member.
Cool.
And it's cheaper if you do it by the annual. So
yeah.
To know, I mean, their sound quality is usually pretty good to begin with here, but if you know, some of the videos I have noticed, if like several people stream on the same channel at the same time during some of your game stuff, it does get a bit choppy at times. So if that actually helps boost that.
Yeah, well, any of the videos that you've seen coming from me is just because
your bandwidth sucks, I know.
Yeah, my bandwidth here sucks, and unfortunately, CenturyLink, your service sucks ass.
Brought to you by
not a real sponsor.
Our anti-sponsor is.
Yeah.
How do you really feel, David?
Not brought to you by.
This choppy connection brought to you by.
All right, so let's wrap that discussion up by saying that if you want to boost the server, it will add perks to the CoCo Discord server. The money does not go to anybody in the CoCo Discord server. It's something that goes to the company of Discord who makes this platform. So you're helping support its development and support the people making the software. All right, so we have Richard Lorbieski of Boyson Technologies is with us, and I want to spotlight you, and I'm trying to figure out where the button is to spotlight you.
And Richard, I dragged it out as long as I could to give you time to get your presentation.
Oh no,
ready.
I was ready.
Okay.
I was just trying to put the pictures together and stuff like that. So.
In that case, I apologize to everybody because that could have been shorter.
No, it's all right.
All right, so Richard, you have the floor.
Okay, I want to see how this. Okay, I did a share screen. Host disabled. Participant screen sharing.
You should be able to share.
It says
share.
I can't share my screen.
Hang on, I found the button. Now try it.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah, it was turned off.
Thank you, Mark.
Right. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Nope.
Oh, let me see. All right. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yep.
Ooh,
it's in black.
It's a black one. Okay, so let me give you a history about what's going on here with the CoCoSDC. Now, this was a project designed by Darren Atkinson several years ago, and apparently he didn't like really making these things, so Ed Snyder took the mantle, as you might say, or the torch, and started making them himself. But one of the things that kind of frustrates me, and it's not anything against Ed, Ed is busy with other projects, and sometimes these SDC cards are in short supply, and what happens is they wind up on eBay and they get auctioned off for, sometimes double or triple the amount that are originally sold, So I've seen some SDC cards go as high as $200, and it's very, to me, it's very frustrating to see that kind of, gouging going on with these SDC cards. So what I did was I found out the SDC schematics and such are available online, and I did download them, and I reached out to Darren, and I also sent out a courtesy email to Ed, and I received permission from Darren to actually produce these SDC cards.
So you're going to be a second source, or is Ed going to stop producing them? Or?
No, I as far as I know, Ed's still going to produce his. And what it is, mine is no different from Ed's. It has nothing to do against, Ed Snyder. Ed Snyder makes excellent products. And so it's just another outlet to where if somebody wants an SDC card, they can get one relatively easily.
Yeah, because that was one thing I've heard, like introducing all the Amigos people to it, and some people were trying to buy SDCs. And if you happen to catch Ed when he's in the midst of making, MCX boards and all the other things he does, they could wait literally like a month or two before anywhere available. Some of them actually, because it said out of stock, thought it had been discontinued.
Right.
So in this case, having it second sourced with another reliable supplier, I think is going to be a huge boon to the entire community, especially the new people coming in.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so, so what I did is one of the things I wanted to do was differentiate mine against Ed's, as in, because what I didn't want to happen is someone buy one from me and then expect Ed, and say, well, you know what, Ed's is a little old. I'm going to go ahead and say it's not working, and send Ed's old unit back to me, and vice versa. I think it's unfair that I would be supporting his product or him supporting my product. So what I did is I wanted to differentiate between his and mine. So what I did is I made mine in black. And so one of the problems I have is this area right here, which is the SDC module. They're readily available, but they're not in black. So I actually had to create my own. And that was kind of been the holdup. And I finally got the boards in and put it together. This one I put together in haste, and I kind of screwed up. And if there's a couple of things, if you really look at it, like it's missing a resistor here. This bank switch is put in backwards, and I've actually put this socket in incorrectly. So I finally figured that out, got it together, and this is the final product right here. And this is inside a case that John Strong made. And I don't have the cases made. David Ladd is going to be making cases for me, because I don't really want to get into the 3D printing business. And I'm sure, I can't speak for either Ed or John Strong if they are making cases or they will just sell cases individually. But I was going to source David Ladd to do cases for me. But that is basically what I'm going to do. This should be available within mid-June. I'm still wanting to test this one out just to make sure everything works properly. I'm sure it will, because I mean the design's been around for several years.
Now, is your pricing be the same as Ed's too then?
It's going to be probably a little bit more, because one of the other differences is I will be selling on eBay, and unfortunately eBay charges a lot of fees, so it's going to be slightly more. I'm looking at a target price about $55 to $60. That's just for the board only. With the case, you're looking at probably anywhere from $70 to $80 with a case.
Okay.
Worth every cent.
Yes.
Had you considered looking at making any modifications, or that was never any sort of intent?
No, that's one of the things. That's one of the stipulations is no modifications. So it's going to be exactly the same thing that Ed sells. We basically get the same parts. That was one of the other things is where I got the design is the BOM, which is bill of materials. I got a whole source of those, and I actually use those sources to get my parts. So, like this bank switch, the LEDs, and this little reset switch thing button is, we all get them from the same place.
And the control over the fact that you can't add anything new or extra, change anything, that's Darren's
decision.
Yeah.
So I'm respecting his wishes on that.
Yeah, as is Ed. So.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like a wise move anyway, because then the community, if someone wants to say, oh, there's the latest update and somebody's developed a firmware update, you can flash it and everything, and it's guaranteed to work on either yours or Ed's CoCoSDC.
Yeah.
You don't
Correct.
have different versions of things. So
yeah, there's virtually nothing different except for just the color of the board. Mine's black, his is blue. But
very cool.
But other than that, it's the same SDC. A lot of people just like the black, and that's why I'm just going to make it available where they could just buy the board only, just as a backup for their other SDC, card.
Yeah,
I know it'll help solve a lot of problems where a lot of the newer people in the CoCo community have just picked up CoCos and find out about the SDC. And like I said, they were getting frustrated. They'd be sending orders to Ed, and then a month and a half later, they'd hear, "Oh, I'm going to be making some boards finally." So I
Right.
think this will help alleviate the backlog. So
Right, and anytime he makes them, I mean, they're almost instantly sold out.
Yeah.
I mean,
So the
'cause it's
cases are interchangeable then, right?
yes, it's the same exact. This is the same exact footprint. Basically the same components, same everything. Like I said, the only difference is I manufactured my own STC module. This little thing right here, because you can see it says voiceontech.com. But you can get these modules anywhere. I mean, they're readily available, but they're only in blue. And so I needed one in black. So I decided, well, I'll just go ahead and create my own. And that's what I did.
And of course, yours accepts the Flash firmware upgrades through the CoCo, same as
yes,
the Darren and Ed one as well. So you can still get field upgrades.
Right. So all the software, everything is, 100% compatible. It's the same exact, I don't know where he buys his, the printed circuit boards. So it may be a different source than mine, but it's basically the same. If you
One
look
quick
at his,
question, one quick question for you. Are you planning on bundling some with SD cards? Like you could pre-install Beta 5 or, the SDC Ultimate Library or something like that? Like Ed used to. I don't think he is anymore. Is that something you're thinking about offering as well?
I probably could. I just haven't thought of that. Basically, I just want to get this thing, out and, to market. But if people want, special software, things like that, I might, throw that in or consider it.
Okay. Well, you have full permission to put Nitrous 9 on there if you want to.
Okay.
That might be a good draw card for, as you say, with the eBay fees making it slightly more expensive. It might be a good way of offsetting that, so that to entice people and say, look, it's a little bit more expensive, but it comes with the card and comes with this software and la-di-da.
Right. Well, I mean, the thing is, eBay, they charge their fees are exorbitant, so I can't just charge the same price that Ed does. It's going to just be slightly more.
Yeah.
So that's the only difference. But I'm not going to go into any kind of price war or anything like that. And I'm not trying to say that mine is better than his. They're the same exact thing.
Oh, this is great.
You've released the Darth Vader edition.
Yeah, but yours is black. So
yeah, mine's just black.
Yeah,
so it's basically choosing between chocolate or vanilla.
Well, so you can get the SDC that you produce in any color you want as long as it's black.
Right.
Just like the Luke.
Right.
So the Luke's. Sorry, okay.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
It was a silly attempt at humor. It wouldn't have worked. So
okay,
it was good that I got cut off.
Was Paul Shoemaker trying to say something?
No, I wasn't. I'm good, thanks.
Oh, okay. So, Richard, I have another question. When this is available, will people be able to go to your website, Boyson Tech, and then see the availability numbers, like so many in stock and buy now online and stuff like that?
Right, correct, yes.
Okay, so when you have a supply, we'll be able to easily tell what that supply is.
Correct, yes.
Okay, that's convenient.
Right, yeah, and you could go to eBay, and it'll be on eBay as well. I was just, I was working on this late last night, and then I was trying to get at least some decent photos and trying to clean it up to make it look decent because it had solder flux and everything else. It kind of looked messy.
Are you hand soldering all of these parts?
No, I'm actually doing wave soldering.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Because I've actually seen the kit where I actually, at one of my Florida Retro Club meetings, somebody had bought the kit to build it yourself, and I watched the guy put the stuff together, and it was a lot of work to hand assemble these things. And
right.
I think the difference in price from the kit to the assembled unit from Ed Snyder at the time was about roughly $10, and the amount of time and energy that goes in is so much more worth the $10. But again, if you are a do-it-yourself kind of person and you like that kind of thing and you have those skills, then the time is not an issue. But if you're somebody who's trying to learn to solder for the first time and you just want something that works, the $10 savings is so worth just having a fully assembled board.
Literally, you're paying yourself 20 cents an hour at that point.
Yeah.
So.
I wouldn't recommend. I mean, it would be a good kit. I even thought about maybe selling this as a kit, but then I thought about no. I've seen too many CPUs damaged with the CoCo 3s, and I would see a whole bunch of SDCs like this.
Right, and technically, you really couldn't warranty the kit if you didn't put it together, right?
No.
So, Yeah, Explorer
So-
VR
Maybe
has
it-
joined us in chat. Hey, Ben.
The other thing with it too, there's obviously surface mount components on it, and hand soldering surface mount is not easy even for someone who's experienced.
Well, actually, this is not. There's no surface mount on it. All this is through hole. These are
Oh,
PLCC sockets. They are not. They're through hole. So it's
Oh, okay.
actually fairly easy to solder up.
Oh, I take that back. Okay,
There's just a lot to it.
You've
But
got your own wave soldering machine there too, haven't you?
Well, actually, it's a wave. It's a solder pan. It's
Okay.
molten solder, and I just dip the surface of the SDC card onto it, and then all the solder clings to the connectors, and then I just clean off the flux.
I think I remember you doing a feature on that a few months ago or something. It might have been a little bit longer or something. I remember seeing something about you showing your wave solder setup.
No, no, that's a different thing. That's me repairing a CPU or replacing a CPU. I don't have any videos yet of my solder pan.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Must be somebody else I'm thinking of then.
Yeah, because all that I have, all what you do with the solder pan thing is you have this big molten bowl of solder, and you put flux underneath the board itself, and then you just dip that board, the surface, and the components you want soldered, and that solder then will cling on to all those connectors along with the flux, and then after that, then you clip the leads and you clean off all the flux, and you're done. It takes like 3 seconds to do the board.
Wow,
that's awesome.
Right. So yeah, if I solder one of these up, which I did last night, it would take it takes about 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, and that's if you know what you're doing.
Right, and of course I didn't know what I was doing. This was like late at night, and I made some mistakes with it. So this is actually the corrected version right here. So
okay,
but you can see this one.
Good looking board, man.
Right. So and so getting back to the black thing, I decided to do some rework on the Boomerang board and the 512K board, and I'll show you right there. These are the boards right here. These are just the blank boards.
Okay.
You can see now the 2 meg, the classic 512, and this is the DAP board. They are now black, and I also made some improvements. Most of this is just aesthetics that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and so I decided this is the time to do it. So not only did I make them black, I also did some improvements on it. And I can show here, this is a completed version of a Boomerang 512.
Nice.
And then this is the DAP board with the Boomerang 2 meg. And right here is the Boomerang 2 meg.
God, it looks so nice in there with the black. It matches.
Yeah, it does. It matches all the other chips.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that looks good.
The other thing is I added gold. You can see on the side here where the CPLD connector here. This is all gold now. It's no longer just tin or soldered.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
And then this is the 512.
Are you going to have that tree on the SDC?
What tree?
Your logo.
Yeah. No. Because I don't. I thought about doing that, and I did not want to make it confuse people that I'm actually the designer or the maker of the SDC.
Good choice.
So I decided not to do that. And I just put BoysonTech.com on the side of that SDC module because I do plan to sell the modules all by itself. Put those out in the open. The other thing. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, right behind me, my CoCo 3 running behind me is running your 2 meg upgrade.
Oh, yes, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, mine is too, Richard. Richard, what's the black bodge wire for in the photo? Is that something that I should have on mine?
No, this was a mod. It was Ed Snyder's. It was a mod for the his S.
The S video. Okay.
Yeah. Tim
So,
Lindner I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, Tim Lindner just put in the live chat that he said he would do another run of his acrylic case if the SDC extender is a real product. So he would make a case that would encompass the SDC and the music card that Jim Brain's working on. That would be kind of cool to have a new updated clear acrylic case for that.
Oh, sure.
That'll look great with the black.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Now the other thing that I'm doing is the 512K board. I haven't really officially called it, but this is more like the Gunstar upgrade. And I'm going to be shipping them out Monday, but later on today or maybe even tomorrow, I will make it available to where you can buy the 512K board with the Hitachi processor, this right here, along with the socket. So you get everything together, not the software, just the hardware part, and make it one low price. And there are some people that have actually ordered these 512K boards today. So if you happen to order one of these today and just pay for the board only, you'll probably wind up getting one of these CPUs as well as a little bonus.
Cool.
But I'm going to be selling the CPU along with the board for $25.
Oh, that's good.
That's ridiculously
That's
affordable.
That's
yeah,
absolutely.
And Richard, would you hand deliver and install it too?
For about $1,000 maybe.
$2,500.
You're pretty expensive for shipping and handling there, Richard.
Yeah.
Today's rising entertainment costs, that's a real bargain.
Right.
Absolutely.
And one of the things, and I did have it on Discord. I was showing off a preliminary version of the DAT board. Let's go back to the DAT board. This right here. Now, a lot of people are buying, are now beta testing Ed Snyder's Gimme X board, and unfortunately, this doesn't. They don't
fit.
work. They don't fit together. So I am redoing a DAT board that will fit with the Gimme X.
Ooh.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Because there's some
Nice.
features that the DAT board has that the Gimme X doesn't, and people want them, like the LEDs, and they also want what they call the protection, buffering. So all that would be included. I'm also going to be adding some more additional features. I'm going to make it really upgradable. I'm still getting some feedback from people what I can do with that DAT board. But basically, it's going to take from this area right here, and it's going to go up to where this RF modulator is, and it's going to take this whole space right there.
Okay.
That's really, that's really
I'll
cool.
mention a couple of things too here. I mean, one, we are planning on supporting the LEDs in Nitrous 9. We're going to be using that for like the keyboard mouse lock and the caps lock, so you can actually see visually that that's on each window.
Mhm.
And also Retro Innovations Jim Brain just mentioned the SDC extender is indeed still real. New PCB design is out for manufacture.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Say, Richard, if someone wants to have you remove their old processor and socket it for them, do you still do that?
Yes, I do.
$1,000.
Yeah, actually, I do the labor with the CPU at $75. That also includes not only removing the old CPU, the 6809, which sometimes I'm able to salvage because I don't clip the leads. I have the solder equipment that actually can save the old CPU. Plus, I also replace these electrolytic capacitors. And this capacitor right here that I'm pointing out to, this is C9. This actually has to be replaced if you use a Gimme X. So I actually I have the little
low profile
caps so you don't have to mess with that if you get a Gimme X. And I also clean up the board and test it. And of course, like I said, and that also includes return priority shipping.
That's good.
But
cool.
That's an excellent price. That's really good.
Right.
Now,
If you don't do soldering a whole lot, I actually highly recommend that you hire somebody to do it that actually has a lot of experience, practical experience with unsoldering stuff. Not just me. I mean, there's Cloud9 does it. I know Ed Snyder can do it. I don't know if he does active repairs or anything like that. But there's a few people out on Discord that had interest that they would be willing to do it as well. So
David Ladd's capable of doing it. Tom C is capable of doing it.
Right,
Jason Reichard probably too. Right. So.
Right.
Absolutely.
If anybody in Australia wants one too, I'm happy to do it for them. I did Bryce's for him, and I've done mine in the background, and I've got the proper desoldering tool, so I can salvage the old chip as well.
Oh, that's wonderful, and you guys are still friends after you did it.
My dear Lord.
No, I'm assuming that the Coco 3 that I received does not have the short capacitor near the gimme.
Actually, it does.
It does. Cool.
Yes.
One thing I would like to mention to anybody that wants to modify their MC10 by putting a 6303 in it, somehow that started to take off on Facebook. The same thing applies to desoldering it as this. You definitely want someone doing it that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem is this is a 30-year-old board, and the MC10's a 35-year-old board. I mean, they're really old. And, the biggest mistake is some people use, a solder pencil that they get from Radio Shack, that they paid $10, $15 for. And they put too much heat onto that pad. Those pads get easily lifted. The other problem is that they actually put too much pressure on those pads when they try to desolder it, or they don't use the proper desoldering tools. And so they wind up like really screwing it up. I don't have pictures with me right now, but I could show you example after example after example of people have destroyed, perfectly good Coco 3 boards. And most of the time, I can try to help fix them, but there's times I can't. Because not only that, they also buy these cap kits. There's one guy that on eBay sells, and I'm not trying to knock the guy selling them, but these people buy them and they think, yeah, this is easy to replace them, and then they wind up really just pulling up traces there and really screwing it up, making it far worse. And
so you're not commenting on the cap kits themselves, just the folks that are improperly installing
attempting to put them in. Yeah,
lack of experience.
Yeah. And if you see hair stuck in them, it's probably one I tried. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, man should know his limitations.
I can personally attest to the fact that you can easily pull up a trace on the MC10, because I did one on one that I was modifying. It burned up in a fire anyway, but I had fixed it. And it's not fun.
No, and there's been times when I have screwed up a trace, but I even have ways of fixing that too. There was one time at the last Coco Fest I was at. I was on my 13th or 14th upgrade. I was super tired, and I wound up screwing up a couple of traces. Because I turned it on and it was garbage on the screen. It's like, oh no. But I was able to fix it. But still, even the people that are experienced can run into trouble. It's just people like myself. When we get into trouble like this, we know we are capable of fixing it.
Yeah, I actually had my upgrade with my own Coco went really smoothly. But once again, I've got the proper tools to do it. But when I did prizes, there was actually a fault on the board itself before I even started that I didn't realize. And even just using the proper vacuum desoldering tool, temperature controlled and all the rest of it, using the proper temperature, one of the traces actually cracked on his Coco, and he was watching me do it. We turned it on and it didn't work, and I'm thinking, oh no, there goes a friendship.
Right.
But no, like you said, I've got the proper equipment and everything, high impedance DMM, fluke DMM, and everything for doing proper tracing without putting any unwanted voltage on the board. So I was able to do continuity checks and check everything, check exactly where the fault was. And I've been doing electronics for 40 years and I'm qualified. So
right.
I've got a proper workbench.
Yeah, it can happen, because the thing is, if somebody had worked on the board previously, it would say that they had put in a new socket or a socket in there, and you have to replace that socket. You only get one shot at putting a new socket in here. You don't have second or third chances.
Yeah.
Well, at least we not forget. I had a customer once sent me a Coco for repair. He didn't realize that the thing around the gimme was the socket, and he attempted to remove the socket from the motherboard.
Oops.
That didn't go well. There's a lot of vias around the gimme and its pins there, and
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So
one of the worst things.
Go ahead.
One of the worst things I've ever seen somebody attempt with one of these is they tried to remove it with solder wick. It's like, no, you do not try and remove a CPU like that on a through-hole plated 40-year-old board using solder wick. It's not good.
Well, if you use solder wick, then you remove the traces along with it.
Yes.
You remove the board.
Now there are times that I have used solder wick, but I'm like really careful about how I apply that. That's usually afterwards, but
at last resort.
Right.
Well, and lots of us used real copper solder wick and lead solder, not the Chinesium stuff with tin solder and bad flux that you get nowadays.
Oh, that's hopeless, that stuff. It's
I actually use Kester for my solder.
Yep.
But basically, that's all the updates I have so far. Today. Maybe next week I might have some more news, especially about the DAT board.
Cool.
Okay, well, that's cool. Well, definitely thanks for joining us and sharing that. That's exciting news because the CoCoSDC is the essential must-have product for the Color computer, and having another supply chain for that is definitely going to be beneficial to everyone. So thanks for carrying that load. And I like the look of the black memory boards. It's now making me wish we had clear acrylic CoCo cases, because now you got the black memory boards, we got freaking blinky lights inside and all kinds of shit. It's like you want to show off our CoCos now. So
all kinds of what?
Kind of what?
Now, it's a family show, isn't it?
What does this have to do with? What does this have to do with a boat?
Ship. Now on the DAT board that I have with the LED, there is a connector. You have to use your own wire, but you can actually build a little external LED module or board that you can mount onto the CoCo case itself.
Yeah, that's what I want to do for the Nitrous 9 stuff here, is have it like right out so I can just see instantly whether caps lock's on this window. Oh, okay.
Right, yeah, but there is an option to where you can actually mount, put a satellite board on there. And the newer DAT board will what I call the next gen board will obviously be there. This one's kind of hidden because when I laid this board out, I've used every square inch of this board, the old DAT board. So now I'm able to branch out to the left side of the board. Yeah, there's plenty of space that I can do stuff.
That's one thing I do actually want to do with my Model 4, CoCo 3 Model 4 project too. I want to put the LEDs on a panel that I'm going to mount where the old floppy drive panels were. So it'd be good to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Far out. All right, well, thank you, Richard Lorbieski and Boyson Technologies. We're going to take a commercial break, and then we're going to come back with everyone's favorite part of the show, which is Nick Marotta in the Game On segment. So we'll be back after these words with Game On and Nick Marotta. So don't go anywhere, boys and girls.
And now these messages. It's a Radio Shack Merry Christmas.
This year, I needed to give a real family pleaser.
Honey, please help me with this budget.
How about a new game, Dad? Please.
And I found it. Radio Shack's Color Computer 2. On sale for just $99.95. It entertains, educates, manages. It's expandable and affordable. Now that really pleases me.
The Color Computer 2. Sale price for Christmas. Only at Radio Shack.
Hi, I'm Kieran Anscombe, author of XRAW, and your brain is resolving sensory input into CoCoTALK.
At GSoft, we make games for the TRS-80 Color Computer, TRS-80 MC10, and Dragon computers. Our basic games cover the range of genres from arcade, to text adventures, to simulations, to 3D dungeon crawls. This is our latest puzzle game from Japan, Fruit Panic. So come on and drop by our website and download our latest games.
Tired of switching your joystick between the left and right port? Want to change between different controllers? Well, Joey has got you covered. The Joey Controller Switch. Take control of your controllers with the flip of 2 switches. Order today at cocoman.biz. And now, Coco Thoughts by Samuel Gimes. Legend says, when the moon is full, if you go out in the country by the lake and whisper the name of Nick Marotta 3 times, his spirit will appear and he will grant you a product idea.
Radio Shack has a great gift idea for the whole family. Fast action TV games, and they're on sale. Get this 6-game model for $29.95 or the 4-game model for $21.95. With rising entertainment costs, that's a real bargain. You play hockey, tennis, squash, and more. Easy to hook up and great family fun that lasts all year long. The sale price TV games. Only at Radio Shack, a Tandy company.
Hi, I'm Terry Steen, author of Balloon Fire and other amazing games on the color computer. And you're listening to Stevie Stroh on CoCoTALK.
High Score Challenge with Nick Marotta.
And now, Coco Thoughts by Samuel Gimes. Played Downland, found the bouncing boulders.
All right, and welcome to the GameON results. We had a fantastic week this week. We had a record number of participants, and thank you to Grant for suggesting this game, Grant Lady. It was a very good choice. So we're going to bring up the results now. And yes, we had 27 participants. Coco Man with 302, R. Alan Murphy with 1098, Kiana with 3644, Virgilio 4868, Ken Reichard 4888, Mikey with 4954, Ben VR Drakes with 5271, Joshua 5380, me with 5388, Tom C with 5468, Mr. Dave 5637, Cat Lord 6455, Jay Mobley 7777, Canadian Retro Thring 7855, Jay Searle 8191, Adam Tandy Guy 9946, David Ladd 10600, Alpin Grice 12989, Terry Stiggy 13058, OD Stevie Stroh 13754, Rob Inman 14700, Paul Shoemaker 18118, Paul Fiscarelli 19375, Diego 23024, David Croker 24054, Red Beard 24763, and Buck Owens with 36357. So thank you for all this week's participants. We had some new ones this week. Jay Searle, and Joshua and Kiana, who are Dave Croker's son and daughter, and Paul Fiscarelli joined us this week. So welcome to our new participants. I'm very happy to see the participation grow, and people are having a lot of fun with the games.
Buck Owens.
All right, surprise! Buck Owens took it this week.
Now he actually finished it, didn't he?
I believe he did wrap all
Yeah,
the
it
chambers
doesn't
and wrap
really
it around.
end. It just wraps.
Oh, it wraps. Okay.
Yeah. But yes, because he's got screenshots of all the things. 27 people participate. Is this the best week so far?
This is the best week. It beat Quix or QIX, whatever
Yeah.
it was 26. So we beat it at 27. Actually, unofficially, we would have had 28 because we had a couple of we had one late entry. And I need to make a change to Rob Inman's score because he also had a late entry. So let me bring that up. So Rob actually beat his score at 21,009.
Wow.
And we had an additional entry who submitted too late, Karen Anscombe.
Anscombe.
At 7903. So
Good job,
technically
Karen.
we had 28.
Good job.
So yeah, I was very happy with that. And again, that was Grant Lady who suggested the game. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, Stevie, if that's okay.
So we have Grant to blame for this.
Can I just ask a quick question? This is just more speculation, but what do you think? So this week was our best week participation-wise. Do you think it was literally the game that got everybody playing, or do you think it's just we've been doing this long enough that we're starting to gain some momentum and getting more buzz about it, or maybe a combination of those things?
That's a really good question. I know I'd like to ask, like I said, we had David's son and daughter joined us for the first time this week.
Okay, yeah.
So maybe the game was appealing to them because it's a I hate to say this, but it's a Mario type game.
Mm-hmm.
So that was probably very appealing to them.
Okay.
Or maybe it was the first prize of a brand new car.
Yeah,
Nick giving away one of his fleet, Nick Marentes, I mean.
No, graciously donated by Boyson Tech. Yes, that's right.
He's got boomerang money. He can afford it.
But it has root beer spilled in it.
So anyway, yeah. So I'd be interested to hear what people thought of the game, and while it's going on, I'm going to show some gameplay footage.
Okay, this is Ben Drake's.
Yeah, this is with the Dragon PAL color set.
This is how the game's supposed to look in its natural colors.
Yeah, I like that actually.
It's not terrible. It's not
the green version.
I don't know if there's is this P mode 3. Can we enable that on the North American version somehow with the clear key?
Yeah, and then at that point you can do some CoCo 3 palette hacks too.
Oh, and make it look really cool. Yeah,
I tried that with mine. It didn't work.
I think you have to poke it, to be honest.
We saw late last night that Paul Fiscarelli ended up enabling the double speed poke on the CoCo 3. And the game itself seemed to be frame locked, so the drops didn't drop faster, the timer didn't go down slower, but he had a lot more control. So he said it felt like the controls were more responsive. And that's kind of similar probably to like what Curtis did with skiing, right? So skiing was frame locked, but because you had a lot more optimizations going on, you had a feeling of more fluidity and a little bit better responsiveness.
Yeah, because the code actually, like scanning the joystick and stuff, is running faster, so it's able to sample it more often, I think, within that frame.
Yeah, I did that with the. I did that with the cartridge. I actually put a piece of tape over pin 8, and then put the cartridge in my CoCo and did the high speed.
Oh, so you double speak the actual cartridge.
Double speeded, and then you enter EXEC and HE010, and then the game will start.
Nice.
Yeah. You can do that
Thanks
on
to
CoCo
Paul Fiscarelli for that.
Yeah, you can do that on a CoCo 1 and 2 as well, except you have to do exec and HC000 instead.
But would the high speed poke work on the CoCo?
It's on ROM, so you do the 65495 poke like you would for basic programs, and the ROM runs twice as fast.
Here are the stairs. Here are the stairs from hell.
The stairs from hell. Yes, the getting that angle sucks, and then bouncing off the corners sucks. So,
yeah, I pretty much only made it to the second or third, actually the third level, because it was that ball in the third
and
level
honestly,
kept getting me.
this game, and wanting to play this game while I was voice chatting a few guys on Discord is what got me getting on my Coco Pie stuff. So I was like, so. Canadian Retro Things has joined us. We've been joined in the panel now too by Ron Klein. Speaking of Coco Pies, hey Ron. No, it's good playthrough. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm loving the green background, but that's those are your choices on a dragon, right? Either you're gonna run it in RGB, pure black and white, or you got this, right? So
if you palette hack it, you can make it look really good.
Yeah, on the CoCo 3 you can. That's neat.
Or the CoCo VGA.
Just a little short gameplay by Buck Owen showing us him standing on the wall. Not quite sure how he did that, but
you just jump onto it.
You gotta jump onto it.
You have to kind of get at the right level, but you can jump onto it.
Look at that. He caught the rope. And now he's like basically playing truth or dare with that bat, man. That bat was hauling buttocks in, wasn't it?
Yeah, if you jump on the edge of the wall, and then even if you're still facing the wall and you jump again, it'll bounce you back. And you have to be up high enough, and you'll eventually catch the rope.
Catch the rope, yeah.
But I never was able to successfully not die, but getting the bag of money that way. It always falls too far.
Now there's a couple levels, or a couple chambers, I should say, where you actually have to hang off the side of the rope because the drops are too close to the rope and they'll actually hit you. If I remember correctly, and I've only done it once or twice, and this is way back, I think when you wrap the levels and you come back, more of the ropes have the acid drops that close. So you have to start having to hang off the edge a lot more.
Yep.
Buck can confirm that or not because it's been 30 years since I did it. But
I assume if you wrap it, Curtis, that there's going to be more obstacles that come because
more
if you,
acid.
You know,
there's more acid, and the acid
boulders
gets
and
closer to the
stuff.
rope, so you cannot just sneak up the middle between acid drops. You have to hang off even on the earlier chambers.
Okay.
From what I remember.
And the reason I say that is because I noticed on some levels there's ropes hanging down for no apparent reason. Like there's no reason for you to hang on to it. It's not like there's an obstacle coming underneath you, at least on the first pass.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, like this level here, you've got 3 ropes there. So it's like, why do
three
you need
ropes
that?
there.
Yeah.
So, but you use those 3, but there's at least one other chamber that I noticed that there's ropes hanging down that there's like, even at the top of this one, there's a rope hanging down right there, but there's never anything that comes at you.
Right. So maybe later on there might be.
Might be a boulder or something.
Oh, there's a drop. Acid drop. That doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't know.
The acid drop.
Thought maybe the bat would leave you alone if you were on a rope. That was not true.
That was not true.
It's a devilishly difficult game.
Did you guys notice that your extra guys do things in the top while you're playing?
Yeah, they follow the same animation your main character does. It's facing the same direction and everything.
Now, do you ever get extra characters?
I have not seen you get any extra life.
I think you get 1 extra life at what the heck's the score? 10 or 20,000 or something like that?
I never noticed.
No, I never noticed it.
It may
check
have.
the manual.
It doesn't.
We could ask.
It doesn't beep or anything to let you know that it's happened. At least not that I've ever noticed.
Ken Reichert says this game dropped more acid than Timothy Leary.
Oh.
So I do have a piece of game news related to Downland.
Okay.
Let me see if I can scroll over here.
While you're doing that, you type in LSD, type in Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds before you type in the high-speed poke, and you get unlimited lives.
So somebody on Atari Age who's a Coco nut, and their name is Downland 1983, so they're obviously a fan of the game, recreated Downland in Super Mario Maker 2, which is available for the Nintendo Switch. So he basically recreated the entire game in Super Mario Maker 2.
And surprisingly, the guy in this game looks a lot like Mario too. It's got to be completely coincidental, though, right?
He was able to recreate the guy from Downland. Yeah, that was pretty good. So the link for that, I'll post that in. Have the link,
neat.
or
yeah.
If not, I'll post it in.
Go ahead and post
chat.
it, if you want.
So yeah, if you have a Nintendo Switch or you're looking for a reason to get one, and Super Mario Maker 2, then you can play a Downland-like replica on the go.
My daughter has a Switch, so I'm gonna have to probably borrow hers and try this out.
Is it me, or do I remember somebody on the Facebook page indicating they were thinking about doing a Downland 2?
That is Paul Thayer, and he is working on that.
Excellent.
Yes, tile set based for the CoCo 3.
Now, apparently it does have a different unique ending so he didn't show that in the screenshots, but he added a unique ending to the Mario Maker version.
Okay.
With a flagpole. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. That was thanks to Mr. Dave.
And in this case here, they're kind of
story.
like vines hanging down, which would seem a little bit more organic too. Like, yeah, that's neat.
So, anybody else have anything to say about this? Or
I enjoyed playing it. It was frustrating, and it was just, but it made you want to. It made you want to challenge yourself. It's like, half the time I died because I did something stupid. Half the time I died because the game just sucks. But no matter what, I didn't want to just rage quit and stop playing. I wanted to keep going. And so this game really kept me engaged all throughout the week. So this definitely was a great choice, and just a testament to a great CoCo game that's still fun to play 40 years later.
Yeah, I agree. It's got a interesting mix of urgency and patience. Like you always have to be watching out for the acid drops, and so you can't just plow ahead all the time. You're constantly looking around. Sometimes you have to wait. Sometimes you have to wait longer than you wanted to, and then you're always worried about that bat showing up at some point. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
I'll also say I played the whole week until this morning using a Black Beauty joystick, which is torture, and I tried this morning using digital pad, well, a digital joystick, actually using one of the digital converters that one of John's guys sells, and it was much better. It's much easier to do this step right here that we're looking at as well.
There is a turn and jump off of that wall that you can hang on too. That's almost impossible to do without a really nice joystick. This used to be my favorite game. So
yeah,
back in the day, I didn't get to play with it this week. One of these days I will get to join GameON, but
right. And yeah, and again, this motivated me to set up my Coco Pi to play in the living room. And so I was playing on like an Xbox style controller, and it really helped. All the corners are still a little bit of a biatch to get, but they're gettable, and it was just a fun game to play.
I heard people playing it, and they went from "this is a great pick" to "I hate this game," and back again. So it really warmed the cockles of my heart hearing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, the goal, and so let's give credit where it's due too. This was Mr. Dave's idea. Mr. Dave 6809 said, "Hey, we should have some type of weekly, score thing." The goal is just to get people playing, whether you win or lose, whether or not you get a high score. If you enjoyed
Score
playing
does
with
not
it,
matter.
Score doesn't matter. But we'll recognize both participation and score. But having 27 people play this week was really awesome. And,
yes.
And last night we did a live stream, and there was a handful of us playing at the same time. Paul Fiscarelli was playing. I was playing. We were just hanging out, talking about it. It was fun.
And that was without a couple of our regulars too.
Yeah,
so we have, so our regular corral of people playing who've played or continue or whatever, about 40 people have played at some point. So the numbers are growing. It's awesome.
Yeah, this is just a neat thing to give us something to engage with and share throughout the week. So,
do you guys want some background from the original author?
Yeah,
because way back in the day, I actually contacted him, and he's one of the authors that actually said, "Yeah, you can copy this game." But he mentioned some of the original development. So originally, and I'll just read this verbatim. It's not too long. Keep in mind, this game fits an 8K ROM. That was a Tandy limitation imposed on him. I think I managed quite a lot in that little space. The last month I worked in the game was squeezing it down from a little over 9K into the 8K ROM space. Also, the original final game had several more features than the squished down version that actually was commercially released. For one, all the screens had names, but Tandy wouldn't publish them. The one that has the big Y-shaped thing, it's been a while and all my stuff's packed away, but I think it's screen 8 or 9. I think it's actually 6 or 7, but it's called the Dr. Seuss screen, so named because it resembles some of the terrain in some of my favorite childhood books, ranking fairly even with Winnie the Pooh. Unfortunately, because of the size limitation, much of what would have happened when you completed the 10th screen had to be taken out. In the published game, you land back at the first screen again, but this time it is much harder. You may notice that some of the ropes have acid drops that fall so close to the rope you have to hang out to the opposite side. And the second time through the game, all the acid drops near the ropes fall close to the ropes. Also, I think I rearranged which keys open which doors to confuse things. So Buck Owens, you have to make a second version of your map. Seems like there were a couple other things I did to make it harder. Maybe the bat timer is shorter. Despite this, I met a young man who had made it all the way through and halfway through it again. My best game was to make it to the beginning again, and being so worn out from playing over and over, I think I probably did something stupid and was killed by an acid drop running for the first rope. A funny thing about the game being 2-player, when I wrote it, it was a 1-player game. One day when the game was almost finished, I was contemplating how much trouble would it be to make it a 2-player game, and then I had a brainstorm. I'd used whole bytes for speed in the computer to store all the bits of information about the character, but no bit of information went over the number 15. Since 4 bits, half a byte can hold from 0 to 15, I just wrote a bit of extra code that used the top half of the byte for the extra player. I think I added the second player in about 2 days. If I'd done things even slightly differently, it would practically require a complete rewrite.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's cool.
And then what about the fact where, was it you who mentioned you asked him about, was this character inspired by Mario? And what's the official answer there? Because he looks just like Mario from Donkey King.
He did mention that. Let me find my original.
Yeah.
Is the author still alive?
This was 2002. I talked to him, so I have no idea. I presume he was fairly young when that happened there. Yeah, because I said it looked like Mario, and he says, I suppose I can live with the Mario clone crack, mentioning about the character, but I really did not copy anything from any game that I know of. He basically drew that himself. He said, no, maybe subconsciously was influenced by Donkey Kong or something at the time, but He claims no.
Yeah, because
that was not on purpose.
Somebody made the connection last night that I didn't initially either, was that they were mentioning that there's some Donkey Kong Jr. elements, because in Donkey Kong Jr. you're climbing up, one or two vines or poles, whatever they are. So and Donkey Kong Jr. released the year before this game was. So
and there were keys in that game too. Although you didn't collect them the same way. But...
Yeah. So were they unintentional coincidences? It kind of doesn't matter. The game, and to me, this game stands out on its own as being truly unique, even though there's elements. The platformer element is here. The game, I think, is a truly unique gem.
It's much harder than a Mario game.
Yeah, I mean, there's one comment on that. He said, "My goal, while all my peers were doing rip-offs of arcade games, was to come up with a completely unique arcade style game that had a slight hit of an adventure game in it, which is why you can go back to screens after you've left them, and in fact, you have to in order to solve the puzzle of the keys."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the original Mario 2 all took place on the ground level. There was no real. I don't know. It wasn't quite as
right, and you went from left to right. It was a real linear progression. This one requires a lot of backtracking.
He also mentioned that Cave Walker, which is kind of a sequel. It's kind of a similar game with a bunch of things like elevators and stuff added into. He had nothing to do with it whatsoever, even though it came out from the same company, Spectral Associates, that did both, distributed both of them.
So it's an unofficial sequel or at least not from the author.
Now, Curtis, was Downland ever ported to any other systems during its heyday?
Nope.
So it's a CoCo exclusive, like Daggerath. Excellent.
A CoCo exclusive.
Just like Nightmare Highway.
Nightmare Highway.
Very cool. So, anybody have tips and tricks, suggestions, strategies that worked for them?
Keep an eye on the timer in the lower right, because that's when the bat appears. Because after that timer goes to 0, if you hadn't figured that out already.
Scores are somewhat random, which
they are random. The book even says they're random.
Yeah, like what your bonuses for picking up things is random.
Yeah,
which is kind of an interesting choice.
I did find that if you're running out of time and you leave the room and come back, I think that resets the clock.
Yeah, so, I think it resets it to 1,500 ticks.
Which if the bat's about to come out, that actually can gain you a lot.
Yeah.
You have to be careful when you're going down a rope. If you've got acid drops next to you, your legs kind of shoot apart when you're falling off, they will kill you.
Yeah, cool. So, Nico, are you going to tell us what the next game we're going to be playing is? The game.
I am. We are doing a CoCo 3 game this week.
Ooh.
And so let me just tab over, because otherwise. Okay, so.
That looks like
No, the game of the week. I'm tabbing over because otherwise I always hit this your screen sharing thing and it ticks me off. So anyway, now I'm ready to prepare to show the game of the week next week. It's a CoCo 3 game, and the game of the week is
Timberman by Paul Thayer, the Slayer.
So this is actually a relatively new game. It was released a couple years ago. I'm not sure exactly which year it was released.
2016 or 2017?
2016.
That's Ron Delvaux.
It's Ron Delvaux.
Yeah, it's Ron Delvaux. So this is actually it's a commercially available game. If you go to CoCoMan, do you have the URL to paste in?
This is on imacoconut.com. Or no, 8bit256.
8bit256.
The swag shop. If you go to
I PM'd you, Coco.
Okay.
CoCoMan.
Yeah.
So if you go to 8bit256.com/DVDs, here's a gameplay video that's done by I think Stevie, right?
Yep. And then
there's a buy now button to buy $10 for digital copy. So if you want to support the game, you can buy it. There is also a score identical free version on the archive, which the author gave blessings to use. It's Christmas themed, but other than that, it's completely identical. But there's no unlockable characters and snowfalls. So you are welcome to use that one. But I highly encourage you, if you do want to support future development, to pick up a
including his sequel to Downland.
Yeah.
So that's our game. That's our game of the week for this week.
Very nice.
Now, unfortunately, with the good news comes some bad news. I heard that Downland was such an inspiring game to Samuel Gimes that he actually overthought it and has a second thought related to it.
Okay, so
if you'd like to go ahead and roll that,
all right,
and that will bring an end to my segment. Thank you very much, everybody.
Well, thank you. You need to stop sharing, or I think I can just do that. I can.
Samuel Gons, what we ever did to him to get two CoCo Talks in one, or CoCo Thoughts in 1 week.
So here is a CoCo Thoughts bonus clip, everybody.
And now, CoCo Thoughts by Samuel Gimes. Downland. Proof that, back in the day, Mario had to take non-guild work secretly just to make rent.
Wow.
He was young. He needed the money.
Wow.
So did what he had to do.
Wow.
He wasn't rich and famous like he is now.
Thank you, Samuel Gimes, for the double dose of CoCo Thoughts this week.
Maybe it's an Australian thing, but that went straight over my head.
Curtis, do you have more gaming news to follow?
I have a little bit, not a ton.
Okay.
I do have some.
Do you need to share?
Yeah.
Okay. So Timberman is the game of the week next week. Good times.
Yes.
You guys seen that yet?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, the first one up here is actually another Marlon Lee. He wasn't as quite active this week as he was last week, but he did obviously get some stuff done. So first one he did is from the Cornsoft group, and it's called Avenger. And it's such a short video, I'll probably just play the whole thing. I don't know how many of you guys have seen this. It's kind of Defender, but not. It's got some differences.
Okay.
Hey guys, today we have Avenger, a Defender style game for the color computer from the Cornsoft group. The Cornsoft group mainly wrote software for the TRS-80 Model 134 line. They wrote a few games for the color computer. Probably the one you'd be most familiar with would be Frogger. They wrote the officially licensed port of Frogger for the Radio Shack line, including the color computer. You will notice here that I don't back up in this game. That's because the game only supports forward movement. You can go faster or slower, but you can't go back. And there is no humans to rescue. So it's certainly not a Defender port by any means. But it is in the Defender style. The gameplay very much reminds me of Defender when I play it. I am enjoying playing it today, and I hope that you enjoy this walkthrough.
Yeah, I like it. I like the whole monochromatic look of it.
Now, I will mention this is a game I actually used to be pretty good at, playing keyboard controls, not joystick. So you can actually get to your smart bombs and stuff faster. It is really designed for a CoCo 1 and 2 keyboard. If you have a CoCo 3 keyboard, it's a bugger. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
So, but I will mention one big thing that's different between it and Defender, besides the stuff that Marlon already mentioned, is you later on get what are called mutant waves. And then you get this big mothership that literally fills about a fifth of the entire screen. And when you hit it, it breaks apart into a bunch of mutants, or the equivalents of mutants in Avenger, and then they'll come swarming at you. So that's a nice bonus feature that's not in the original Defender or Stargate. But as far as like the playing, like the thrusting and stuff that the game does, when you're playing on the keyboard, it actually feels, it's one of the ones on the CoCo I think actually feels the most similar to the real Defender, except you can't reverse and change your direction. So it used to be one of my favorites back in the day, but it definitely needs a CoCo 1 and 2 keyboard layout. I might have to see if I can actually, if we ever choose this game, Nick, I might have to see if I can figure out how to patch it for the CoCo 3 to remap the keys so it's more laid out like the original would have been, to make it a lot easier to play. You can play it on joystick, but then you have to hop back to the keyboard to, smart bomb in hyperspace, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. So anyway, once again, it's really good to see
Marlon Lee,
Marlon back. And because you just mentioned it, actually, I just have here the direct PayPal link if you wanted to order Timberman, where it mentions it's from 2016. For those that have not gotten it, and like it's been mentioned before, this will help encourage Paul to do his future CoCo projects, and he's got several under the go right now. Downland, the sequel, is actually just one of them. And Stevie, is he publicly presented some of that other stuff in Discord already we can mention? Or
Buff Commando is one of the projects he's working on that is kind of like a Duke Nukem 1 and 2 style game, and I think we've got a channel for that in Discord. Downland 2 is one. I'm actually going to be testing something later today that he sent me to test. So
he had some puzzle game he was working on for a while too.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Sokoban type thing, Piku Prod or something like that. But I think he said he had put that one on hold. And he works with Simon Jonason, and I believe he's collaborating with Paul Fiscarelli in some areas. And I don't know if you had this in your news or not, but he recently set up a GitHub where he is releasing a bunch of code snippets on different routines that he's had to figure out how to do in assembly. So like setting up P mode 4 screens and reading the joystick and a few things like that. So he's come up with these individual assembly routines that you can pull from his GitHub. So yeah, Paul is definitely real community oriented, and you know, he's learned a lot from other people helping him, and he's now given back with some of the routines he's had to come
cool.
up
No,
with
I missed that one when I was amalgamating the news there. So yeah, if we can get him on, he can actually discuss that.
Oh yeah, he'll be on. He's around. So yeah, and he's a badass at frickin' Timberman. I mean at Downland. Downland is one of Paul Thayer's favorite games, and so I learned a lot of my tips and tricks by watching him play it a few times. He is a beast in that game. So, cool.
All right, next up, update. We've kind of shown some screenshots and brief bits before here. This is the port of Foggy's Quest, which was one of the AGD games ported from the Spectrum by Per Surratt. And he's been working with the WordPack 2 Plus board, which is the 80 column card, but also has that extra the V9908 or something? 9958 chip, which has sprites and a bunch of other things. And this is actually the game pretty well completed. So I'll play a little bit of that. I'll kind of scrub through some of the menus here, or through the other screens. You can kind of see it in action, but
looks really good. Imagine seeing Downland looking like this. Look how clean it is and colorful.
Yep. So this works on this board works in the Dragon or the CoCo 1 and 2. So I mean, basically, the Dragon people finally get full color arcade games too.
Right.
This without the pastel colors.
Oh. This is kind of like Downland on steroids. Other than the fact you fell really far and didn't die.
There's no bat that I know.
Yeah, Downland's got the kind of screw you logic in there where you do one wrong move and you're done. That looks really good. I remember seeing some people commenting on this saying that the only thing that they took away from this was they weren't crazy about the single colored sprites, but that's probably a holdover from the Spectrum it came from. But it would be nice to see multicolored sprites, which I'm assuming the sprite chip can handle. The game just wasn't designed to do that.
Yeah, because the Spectrum couldn't really. Your basically each block was a foreground color and a background color, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then the color bleed. So if your shape's one color and you're moving through terrain in the background of another color, then you kind of change the background color to match on the Spectrum. So I think you're right. I don't think this chip has that limitation.
Yeah, no, it looks neat. I'm interested in this this cartridge.
Yeah, pretty good variety. This is the farthest I've ever seen anybody get in Foggy's Quest too. So it's kind of fun seeing some of the later levels I've never made it to.
Cool.
Next up, Jim Gary has his, hopefully, as he put it, final version of Mahjong, the MC10. And he's got on the bottom of the screen here, which I'll just leave up until I finish reading it. This is a demo of the save and load features he added, so you can save a game in progress. He has an undo feature, so you can undo your last move, and also a hint help feature, which is kind of the Shanghai cartridge that Rick did as well. And other than that, it looks similar to the previous version that he did.
Love the music Jim's able to get out of this MC10.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Hopefully it's not copyrighted. And here's actually demonstrating loading a game from tape.
Okay. And are these, I guess, you're just matching letters or symbols or something?
Yeah, symbols, yeah. And I think the colors is the depth chart. So the depth chart on the left there, 5 would be on the 5th layer on the top, and then all the way down to 1 on the bottom.
Okay.
Because there's no way to really do the shadow on that low over res. So that's your way of telling what layer.
Okay. Creative.
Matches, so.
Oh, wow. Those graphics are amazing right there.
Yeah. So this one here is, I keep forgetting how to pronounce her name, Noriko Mayagami.
Okay.
Hopefully. She does a video playthrough of Adventure International CoCo port of Dog Star Adventure by Lance Miklas. Now, this was a bit unique for the Adventure International games in that it was part of a magazine that they put out called Soft Side. So this was a type-in game originally, and that's how you got it. You didn't actually buy a tape. And then later on, people kind of said, I hate typing that stuff in. I make mistakes. It doesn't run, type thing. So they did eventually release it. And the CoCo version was actually released on tape later on. I won't play the whole, the audio here, but she's got a really good history of how this game came to be and, the uniqueness of doing it as a type-in magazine version as opposed to a commercial thing at first, and then talking about how it got ported to CoCo afterwards. So the history part in the first couple minutes to me is actually the most fascinating part of the whole thing. Definitely worth a listen there. And then she actually goes through the entire game as a playthrough and how to solve it. So
okay,
it's kind of got both elements to it. And the last one's a little bit of a self-plug that I kind of mentioned earlier here, and that basically is highlighting this part here. I've actually been doing updates to the CoCo Games page, so all those games have been added. Basically, I've gone through the A's and B's of old games that I had not had. So I've still got the rest of the alphabet to go through, plus newer stuff. There's a few in here that are actually ports from the Dragon that are actually working on the CoCo now. Some of them, like Beanstalker, which is a Lode Runner style clone. There's a whole bunch of the Ark Royal war strategy simulation games. Some of their older ones, which are all low-res stuff, and then their later ones that actually went to P-Mode 4 with digital sound effects and stuff too. So there's quite a variety of stuff in there. I'm not going to highlight any unless somebody wants to see a specific one that's mentioned there. But there's a few in there, and there's a bunch of there's arcade games, there's strategy games, there's adventure games, there's all kinds of stuff. There's CoCo 3 games, there's CoCo 1 and 2 games. So I do plan on keep going for the rest of the month here. I'm going to try to jam out as many of these as I can in between going through that and updating those manuals like we're talking about. And then in June I'll be switching back to doing ease of use stuff. So then I'll be splitting my time 3 ways, and then of course if my job ever starts back up again properly, I'll get back to normal work and make money. But
nice.
For now, it's actually been freeing up some of my time here to do this kind of stuff and start catching up some sites that have been neglected, quite frankly, for like a year. So,
Curtis, do you put the newest games that have been released on your site as well?
I'm going to be. I've been doing alphabetic just to kind of catch up, but I kind of reserve like the last day is going to be for stuff released new in the last few years. Maybe like Popstar Pilot and Gunstar and Timberman and Forest of Doom and anything else. Now, you had a game that was out that was quite popular, but I think you had to yank it due to copyright issues with the artwork.
Yes, but you should still put it on here because it's cool.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still think we should get the community, especially the artist types in the communities, to redesign the graphics so you can re-release it. Because that was the only issue, right? Was the graphics. Like the game itself's fine.
It was the only issue. I only need literally 15 tile graphics redone. All the rest of that stuff is...
Yeah, reach out to Paul Thayer, too. He's really good with art. He helped Chet Simpson with his digger and,
Yeah, just give the size specs, like what size each tile needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then just maybe post it on Discord, actually, and then we can see if we can get this re-released, because that'd be great.
I will do that. I'd really like to do that. I'd actually added some additional stuff to it that I was planning on sending everybody an updated version that would allow you to both load a second, a different character to go play, or just continue playing the one that you wanted, because the way it was released initially, you could only ever really play one character at a time. So I added that additional feature, and then I added a little bit more logic into the game to see if you had to ask really if you have a CoCo VGA installed or not. So I had done some other revisions on it, so I would like to see it get back out there.
Do you have any updates on the Oregon Trail?
No. The problem I ran into was when I got to the main game code itself, it's almost as if I'm missing some files, because what appears to be the main game code for the Apple, I can understand the commands. I can read the basic listing and I can understand what's going on, but it doesn't seem to be actually driving the game. So I feel like I'm missing something. And so to actually get the gameplay programmed, I have a lot of the structure done already, but to actually get the gameplay programmed, I either have to go find the right listing, because it was written in Apple Basic. I either have to go find the right listing to go look at, or I'm going to have to re-engineer it using just looking at the game it played. And then the guy who managed the whole development of it, he actually wrote a book on how he designed it and the different sections of it and things like that. So I'm going to, unfortunately, I have to back into it a little bit more than I was really wanting to, and that's kind of why I shelved it.
Okay, fair enough. It was looking really good what we were seeing early on.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about it just today. I went out this morning and started reading up more of on some of the articles and some of the chapters that he had read, so to try to figure out the overall game logic so that I could restart it, because I was really happy with how it was turning out, and it does seem like a very, frankly, doable project on the CoCo.
Now, let me ask you this. Once it was done, were you going to, for lack of a better term, sell it, or were you going to just distribute it?
Nope, I was just going to distribute it, and that was my other thought too, Stevie. I was thinking about just putting what I have out there and saying, tag, who's it? Who wants to pick it up and run with it?
Okay.
I don't know if people would be
that gets
interested
into
in
that whole gray area of, even though you are, in this case here, this isn't even like a transcode or a port where you just, ported the code. You are having to write custom code to make it work, but it's not necessarily your game. So there are different schools of thought on the ethical ability to sell something like that, right?
And it's definitely not my graphics either, right? It's all somebody else's graphics. But to port it, I'm using a lot of the code is portable because it's just basic, but all of the fancy stuff I had to write my own assembly language subroutines to put the text on the screen and to
right. So that's still effort you had to do and things you had to create. But
sure. But I went into the project not planning on selling.
Right. Now that's, and unfortunately there is, I think there's going to be different sides of that coin as far as should I or can I sell this, so I was just kind of curious, but that's fine.
Yep.
And you've personally had the bad experience where you were one of the people unlucky enough that somebody did complain and make you take down your previous game. So that's the reason we give this warning. If you're doing a straight port, selling it for money probably is going to raise the flag of that even faster than just finding it exists.
It definitely could, but I wouldn't think that anybody would have any problem with a port that is just out there for free.
Oh, no, absolutely not, because
if it's free.
Unless it was Nintendo and it was
Mario.
involving Mario or something.
Yeah, but this is what MECC or whatever, and those guys have been defunct for 100 years.
Yeah. No, but it was a neat project, and it would be neat to see some more of that.
I agree.
Cool. Well, we have Ron Klein on. I guess he had to go. Would have been nice to hear from him. Are we done with the gaming news, L. Curtis Boyle?
Yep, that was the last one. Was just to mention to go check out the games page.
So real quick, I know a few people have joined who were not on earlier. Our final segment today, unless something else comes up, is going to be our project updates and acquisitions. And so far on the list, I had Ron Delvaux, Alan Murphy, Mark Bosley, Terry Steggy, David O'Connor, Rick Euland, Nick Marentes, and now that we're joined by Brian Weasler, and we did show off your kind of gray controllers that you got, Brian. Do you have anything else you'd like to show and tell as well?
I do have one thing I'd like to show.
Okay. All right. So that we have our lineup for who is going to be speaking after the break. So when we come back, we are going to get into everyone's favorite section of the show, that is a project update. And you notice that every segment is everyone's favorite segment of the show.
What is somebody's favorite?
I feel slightly less special now.
We're going to be back for everyone's favorite segment of the show, project updates and acquisitions, folks. Yeah. So what else was I going to say? And then we at that point, we're probably going to wrap it up. And then the question will become, as we get ready to push the button, is do you guys want to do a caboose or an after show, and I guess we'll decide if we need to do more talking when we're done with the talking we haven't done yet, right? All right. So no, there have never been more prolific statements made than what I just did right there. So take notes, other podcasters. We're going to run, how about Fletcher? Fletcher, we need more Fletcher. We're going to play some Fletcher, and we'll be back after these words, everybody.
After these messages, we'll be right back. Fletcher, I don't need that report tomorrow.
Great, JT.
I need it tonight.
But JT...
Fletcher saved $300 on her office away from the office. Radio Shack's revolutionary Model 100 computer. It's a word processor, phone directory, and dialer. It even communicates with the office computer.
Fletcher, how's that report? Fletcher.
Radio Shack's Model 100. Save $300 and put it to work.
You'll go far, Fletcher. You'll go far.
And now, CoCo Thoughts by Samuel Gimes. On holidays, Uncle JT would entertain us with stories of his business conquests and his assistant who would meet any deadline that he imposed, no matter how ridiculous. Well, until she shot him in the face, that is.
Hi, this is the award-winning Alan Huffman of Subbeat the Software, and you're watching Stevie Fall Off Cliffs.
What's going on, guys? Stevie Stroh here, and I want to say thank you so much for being part of this adventure with us. It's been such a great experience in doing CoCoTALK every week, and the support we get is just amazing. And so the fact that you watch and listen is all the reward that we need. However, if you would like to become a patron of the show and offer some financial assistance towards the production and hosting costs of the show, we do have a Patreon site available for that, and you can reach that by going to our website at CoCoTalk.live and clicking on the Patreon link. But just do us a favor and watch and listen to the show.
Hey there, I'm Marco Roser, and you're watching CoCoTALK.
This is not the Joey cereal switch. This is the Joey cereal switch. Control up to 3 cereal devices. Order yours today at cocoman.biz.
Radio Shack, America's technology store.
Right! This Christmas, Tandy has a very special offer. A family color computer pack to take away at a very special price. This family computer comes complete with software and costs an incredible $449, a saving of $241.69. It's powerful, educational, and ideal for the young and young at heart. The easy way to start computing. The Color Computer Family Pack from Tandy. Get it while it's hot. Tandy, the biggest electronic store in Australia.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Tim. Playing Daggerith like that idiot from the book. You're watching CoCoTALK.
Oh, that Tim. That Tim is always up to something. And this time he was playing Daggerath like that idiot from the book. Well, we're back, everybody, for everyone's favorite part of CoCoTALK. We're talking about updates and acquisition, boys and girls. And what a douche.
You read my mind.
So we're going to go around the room. One of the first peoples who mentioned he had something he wanted to share, and he's a very sharing guy. He's a very sharing and caring kind of guy. But we're talking about, of course, Ron Delvaux. What would you like to talk to us about this week, Ronnie?
Just a little something. I will share if I find the button here.
We see Stevie. There we go.
Share.
Dummy.
Okay. This is an idea I had. Make a sticker that would sit on the keyboard next to the break key, and it looked like it just popped out of the box. Just unwrapped it, and it would have came from the factory that way.
Yeah. That's kind of like when you look at laptops and stuff. They have all the stickers
exactly
showing you what type of chips inside them and what type of how much memory they have and stuff. Yeah,
exactly. And then I also come up with if my mouse will move this thing, a bunch of other ones like 128K 6809, 6309, 512.
Yeah.
64 megabyte for the future.
64 megabytes.
64 meg.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, that's
megabytes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gigabit. Yeah.
64 megabytes. Great Scott.
Heavy.
If nothing else, it can be a nice screensaver.
Yeah.
What the hell's a megabyte?
We're not used to that. And then somebody thought, let's see, no, this is one I did. Somebody else posted one and said they forgot theirs, but they added one. Anyway, and then I also put it on as a high color.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Pretty much. Always thinking of stuff to do. Last time I thought about using the baseball cards or whatever.
Yeah.
And
I wonder how thick you can layer those stickers as you upgrade your machine, because you have to keep overlaying it with the next one. Oh, I got 512 now. Now I got 2 meg. Now I got a 609.
Yeah. I thought about using the corner of, sometimes you'll get, the top of the CoCo has a blocked off area where the vents are, and I could do a triangular one there. I was thinking of doing that at first, but it probably wouldn't stick well.
Now, is it ease of use certified?
Yeah, it's just peel and stick.
Well, I mean the computer. Because Windows certified, so you need the ease of use certified.
Oh,
and then for that new CoCo experience, can you peel them?
Yeah, that would.
Because the peel is important.
Yeah, and then
you could put 6309. You could put 6309 inside for the upgraded one.
Like the Intel inside, yeah.
We should offer a shrink wrapping service. It'll shrink wrap your CoCo like it's fresh from the factory.
I'd have a 12-page manual on how to remove the glue after you pull the sticker. And then I wanted to add that today, just before the show, William Barden friended me.
Oh,
maybe we can get him on. That would be awesome.
Yeah,
it's your name dropping.
Maybe you can go have lunch.
Yeah, I sent him a bunch of info on the show today and asked how he was doing stuff, but I haven't heard back, so we'll see.
Awesome.
He made the step. Cool. That's cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah, very cool. Mm.
And David O'Connor's lining up a good interview too, from what I understand. So
yeah.
I don't know if we release that.
I guess we lost Alan Murphy. He's not on the panel right now. He was on my list. So next up would be Mark Bosley. I believe Mark was going to tell us what he's been working on this week.
Yeah, a couple projects. I was repairing a CoCo 3, one of my backup ones. So far it appears to be the 8-volt regulator that went bad. It was making everything run real hot. Another project I've got is I've been restoring an old an F board, and I finished. Get the camera down here. We fall. I finished breadboarding the composite mod, and it works. So next step will be to put on a permanent board. And in my searches, I believe I have found the elusive power switch for these things.
Oh.
So, and also with a cap to go with it.
Okay.
That matches the original one.
Where'd you get that from? Mouser or something? Or
yes, actually Mouser. So that series should also be good for the CoCo 3, the reset switch and power switch on the CoCo 3s, because I think they're about the same footprint. So
isn't the CoCo 3 a square? Maybe I'm thinking of
the
a
reset
different machine.
switches, yeah, the reset switch is
the reset switch is square on the 2 and the 3. I think it's
yeah. I've got a 2 right here. It is,
and it's a little click switch too, rather than a press switch that it is on the CoCo 1.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the 3 has a power switch that looks similar to that one there.
Yeah, you can tell Mark's a true hardware guy too, because he knows he has no screws in his CoCos anywhere. He just lifts the lid off and away you go.
That was the one that's the one I've been repairing.
So, 3 of my 4 CoCos are that way.
Cool.
So next week it'll be putting it on the proper size breadboard and putting it in the place where the modulator used to be.
Ace Hardware has screws that you can match up and replace them, and I got some gold ones.
I got a few.
Neat.
These are still some of the originals, but Yeah, this one had a hard life. The regulator, the main transistor, main. Can't see anything. The main transistor had actually I borrowed it because the one in my multi-pack went bad, so I finally replaced it, and I've been looking at putting it back to working condition. So it works again. Just got to tidy it up. Another one for the stack. That was it.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Mark, for sharing. We also had on the list here that Terry Steggy had something he wanted to update us on.
Yeah, I got a couple new toys. This actually, I got this stack for free. It's all of the portable 100 magazines, every one that was ever made. The guy kind of contacted me, and I've been on that group, and so I thought that was pretty cool.
Is Fletcher featured in any of those magazines?
You know, I haven't gotten through them all yet, so I don't know. I'll look.
I'd actually love if there was a Fletcher centerfold. So if you get one of those, let me know.
And there we go.
Let's see. Quickly, I'll go through.
How far did Fletcher go?
Welcome to Blue After Dark.
Bomb Squad, John Strong's Bomb Squad. Nice.
And then
sealed.
Got that one.
Color file. Did you get that from John Strong, or did somebody sell that online?
I did get the Bomb Squad from John.
That's all sealed too, by the looks of it.
Yeah, that one's sealed. I got a skiing that kind of is sealed.
Nice.
Close enough.
16K recommended. Typing tutor.
And I was kind of surprised. I hadn't seen. This is the diagnostic one, but this, when I load it, it says version 2, and I'd only seen the version 1 in any of my other stuff. So thought that was kind of cool.
Any idea what's different? I didn't know there was a version 2 either.
Yeah, the version 2 memory tests are named differently. I think version 1, it's called like the short and the long test or something like that. And version 2, they call it a little bit different. And I think the joystick test is different between the two versions as well.
Does the memory test actually like detect more than 16K too, like 32K or anything? Or
64, the ones that I've tested. I've actually never tried it on a 16K CoCo, but it detects 64 for sure.
Yeah. Because I think the original one only detected 4 and 16, because I think that's all that was out at the time.
Does it have the version number on the label?
No, it does not. I that's why I was kind of shocked. I knew there was a version 2. I thought, well, I'll look at all of them because I've got about 3 of these, and this one in the box is version 2 when you plug it in. So
cool.
What's the date on the label?
Let me pull it up here in a second.
I thought you were going to ask for a serial number.
Show us your proof
you
of purchase.
Never expected this.
1980. Oh, it looks like that needs to get a little glue out.
Oh, and Stevie, Robert Murphy got back and said that he's going to try to debug his audio and do it later because he was echoing again. So he'll probably do his presentation next week.
This is exciting unboxing action.
Where would that number be?
Be right on the label of on the edge of the cartridge.
And that's unfortunately, actually, it must have fell off in here. Oh yeah, there it is.
The label was in the box.
1980.
The glue gives out.
40-year-old glue.
1980. Okay. So it's using the same labeling, the same packaging. It's just a newer ROM.
Newer ROM in it, apparently. And doesn't, I don't know. Anyway.
Is that an Australian label? Cool. It looks upside down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Last one I got, I hadn't had a boxed version of the...
Nice.
Oh, cool.
I thought that was kind of slick.
That was one of Steve Bjork's best games.
It's one of the very few I can get a high score in, too.
I got the high score on that one, yeah.
I think I got 11 kilohertz. That's 11,000 points, right?
I was just going to say, what's your highest score? 16K or 11K? Yeah.
I found one of the... Actually, I got 3 of them. Original Dragon games in the box still. So
wow. Are these tapes?
Yep, they're tapes.
Okay.
I think... I mean, not a good game, Personal Finance. But...
Oh, I love that game. I got a high score in that one, too.
I wish I did.
I got the low score.
That was next week's game. That was next week's game. You ruined it.
Oh, you got the dragon sticks.
I got them with their box. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
welcome to the club. Welcome to the club, sir.
And then the last thing, I got the American version of the actual Dragon 64.
Welcome to the club again. Yes, the Tano.
Oh,
nice.
So, anyway, then I drop it.
Don't do that.
Excellent.
That'd be like FedEx.
Neat. Thank you, Terry Steggy, for doing that.
Thanks, guys.
David O'Connor, unless we already covered it in the news, but was something else you were going to update too?
Yeah, there is actually. Yesterday was, everybody knows, or most people have heard of what they think is called a Moog synthesizer. It's actually a Moog synthesizer. It's pronounced Moog, as in Vogue. It was Bob Moog's birthday yesterday. It would have been his 87th birthday. I think he passed away a few years ago. And so I was on I got invited to a Zoom call that we did, a Zoom meeting that we did yesterday. Michelle Moog Kusa, who is actually Bob's daughter. She's actually doing a lot of work with the Bob Moog Foundation now, and with the company, with the Moog company. So they had a birthday meeting where Michelle showed a whole lot of artifacts and photos and things from Bob's life and rare instruments and releases and whatnot. Anyway, before the Zoom, before everybody else got on the Zoom, the host of the Zoom call is a man named Martin Brosman. Now, Martin is on the board of directors for the Moog Foundation. And he was on early, and I got on first before everybody else joined, and it was just Martin and I. And so we got talking, and I've got all this stuff set up in the background, and the CoCo set up in the background, and we got talking, and we started talking about the CoCo, and I found out that he's a CoCo nut, just like us. He loves his CoCo computers. But more than that, he was a Radio Shack store manager. So we got talking about all this, and we were talking about the CoCos, and we were talking about Radio Shack and all the rest of it. And so I've invited him to join the TRS-80 CoCo Facebook group, which he has. But anyway, he was really interested. I suggested possibly coming onto the show, onto CoCoTALK maybe next week, to do an interview and share some of the things that he experienced as a Radio Shack store manager and specializing in the CoCo computers. He's got a real deep passion for it, and he was really interested in that. So I sent him I received an email actually from him. I sent him my email address and got in touch, and he sent me an email while we were during the show actually. He isn't available next week, but he's available the week after, the 6th of June.
Okay.
And so, yeah, you and I were talking earlier, Stevie, before the show, and I mentioned this to you, and we were talking about the possibility of doing a spotlight on Martin Brosman.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's it looks like possibly
I need to clear that with my producer, Nick Marotta, to make sure that that he's okay with that.
Send him up for lunch.
Yeah. So yeah, Martin's been a big mover in the Moog Foundation with Moog synthesizers. Bob Moog is obviously the inventor of the Moog synthesizer. I've got one behind me right there, two behind me right there, one there, and the big modulars inspired. That's all Moog inspired stuff as well. So. Having somebody who's right into all of that, plus right into the CoCo, was right up my alley, and we just got, we just
cool.
clicked. Yeah, I've had really good chats and whatnot. So it's, it's pretty exciting. It's going to be exciting to have him on the show, and he's really enthusiastic. So
is he a little older than you, or same age, or younger?
I don't know, to be honest. He's probably a few years older than me. I mean, I was a teenager in the 80s. I think he might have been, I don't know the exact years that he was the Radio Shack store manager. So I'll have to find, they're all questions we can ask, I guess, on the show.
Sure.
Yeah.
We were talking about, we talked about everything. We talked about real-time clocks, and we talked about all sorts of other things. I mentioned about the real-time clock thing too on my website down the bottom. something I forgot to mention earlier on in the show was Darren Ottery actually contacted me, and he noticed my real-time clock reference on the bottom of the 6089 CPU website. And he asked me what the origins of all the in-jokes about real-time clocks on CoCoTALK are.
Oh, okay.
And I said to him, I said, I'm really not 100% sure where it originated. I just know that it's an ongoing joke. So he asked me whether I can ask everybody on the panel today what the origins
you know what? We actually have a segment in the show. And hold on one second. All right, everybody, it's time for everyone's favorite segment on CoCoTALK. This is Questions and Answers, where you ask the questions and we provide the answers. Today's question is brought to you by CenturyLink that sucks ass. Okay, so we're back.
We're really going for the PG-13 rating.
Oh my God, I am such a douche. Today's
quote of the day.
I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I would like to hear everyone else's take on where the whole real-time clock in joke. I know Nick Marentes probably has some insight to that and a few others. So who wants to take that whole real-time clock thing?
Well, I think it all started because OS 9 keeps asking if what the time is every time it boots. So because it can't see a real time clock. So hence the big debate about why don't we get a bloody real time clock in there?
Yeah. And why didn't we build it in some previous hardware projects like the CoCoSDC and then on to the next one type thing? So
there were so many chances to have one put in there because it's only one chip. But we still haven't seen the real time clock. Well, not in a mass-produced way, anyway.
Well, so that's a prerequisite of every new project that comes out. It doesn't have a real-time clock.
Right.
Well, that and the sound chip.
Right.
I have one on my disto controller.
Yeah.
A real-time clock?
Yes.
Yeah, I had one on my Birkenberg.
Well, my recollection was when Jim Brain was first telling us that I'm going to come up with the SDC extender, which is going to add a sound chip to the CoCoSDC, so you could basically have like what's in the Mega Mini MPI, but not need the MPI. That to me, that was exciting news all in itself. Okay, we're going to have a sound chip. We're going to have the CoCoSDC. That's everything I need, right? And then it was at that point everybody started like giving Jim a bunch of crap. Well, is that all we get is a sound chip? Well, why can't you put a real-time clock on there too? And I'm thinking to myself, nobody has ever asked for a real-time clock in the 40 years that I can recall, but now that we're making a sound chip, real-time clocks somehow became important. And then it was then later revealed that that is actually part of Jim Brain's design as well, is that the SDC extender will not only add a very nice high fidelity sound chip on there, but it will also have the real-time clock, and it will go in line between your CoCoSDC and your cartridge slot. So it's like a daughter board that you plug into, and so we'll get a sound chip, we'll get a real-time clock, and we'll have our CoCoSDC. And this will be good enough for most normal people. I realize David Ladd's still going to need a 16-pack MPI, but most normal people can get away with a CoCoSDC, a sound chip, and a real-time clock because you already have dry wire built into that too. That's kind of my recollection when this discussion came up. Yeah,
that's pretty accurate.
That's about right. And I'd say there's nothing like having the clock working instead of the little cursor blinking when the computer's just sitting there idle.
Oh, you mean like a screensaver when you're not doing anything to have a time?
Yeah. The time's always there. You know, instead of looking at your clock, you can look at the CoCo
that's what
screen.
that's what I do on my PC. I look down in the corner to see what time it is, right? So I remember having that in RS-DOS. I remember one of the 64K RAM, the ROM mods, I think had a TSR that had the time blinking in it.
And Burke had one for OS 9. It actually had its own built-in fonts. It would run on any window and just pop this clock in the upper right corner, whether you're on a graphics screen or a text screen, whatever. It always draw the time once a minute.
Master Directory has one, doesn't it? A clock in the corner.
Yeah, ADOS 3 Extended might have too, if I remember correctly. I can't remember.
Even my big modular synthesizer here has got a real-time clock module in it.
Yeah.
Over in the bottom corner.
Just showing how necessary it is to have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We've all agreed.
Yeah. That was a good.
Now, David, before we go off your interview upcoming here on the 6th, can you get a little bit of a bio from him ahead of time, and then I can kind of maybe formulate some questions I might want to ask him, but I don't know anything about him at this point. So if you can get that, before the 2 weeks is up, I would love that to kind of make some intelligent questions to ask.
Also,
Absolutely, I'll get him.
Ask him to post his computers on Show Us Your Color Computer.
Show us your dandies. Yeah. So we are now starting a new segment where we ask intelligent questions. So look forward to that on a future episode.
That's not just a new segment. That's new to the show in general. So,
and that's going to be everybody's favorite segment.
Everybody's favorite segment where we ask intelligent questions.
Questions about real-time clocks. There we go.
Next favorite segment.
Hopefully, we'll do the same to William Barton.
This is Casey.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
All right.
Well, Mr. Barton's got a lot of questions to answer about.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure he's forgotten more than most of us will ever know. It's a good problem to have. Was that the conclusion of your update and news there, Mr. O'Connor?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Rick Euland had something he wanted to share with us today. We don't get to hear too much from Rick too often, so we're looking forward to this.
Yeah, I'm starting to get my life together. Let's see, digging through the inventory, I bring you this.
Using the IBM keyboard adapter. Yeah.
This is the Popo keyboard adapter. Not only that, this is a new one in the factory packaging.
Oh, cool.
So that's something. Don't know why I still have one of those 30 years later, but I do. Yeah. The other thing
Bob Pupo, I just mentioned, is also the guy that helped design the TC9, and that same ET keyboard interface became part of the TC9 design.
That's interesting. That's cool. And then when I started here a month ago, 5 weeks ago, something like that, this is the only OS 9 I had. This is a stream backup of my hard drive from 96. So I have since then managed to fix I had a CoCo 512K that only runs Disk Basic, which is a good trivia question for some time. It will run the double speed poke in Disk Basic. Anyway, be that as it may, I finally got a CoCo that will run OS 9. And let's see, can I do this?
Sure you can.
I need to change desktops. Can I just pick this one and change desktops? Let's see if that works. No, it doesn't. Whiteboard, blah, blah, blah. I can't change desktops.
Are you trying to share something?
Yes, I would like to share a couple pictures that are on a different desktop.
You should be able to share either desktop.
So if I share this one,
there you
and
go.
then I just switch. No, I can't. Yeah, I can.
Do you have two screens?
Okay. Is there a
there we
picture?
go.
There we go. We see the picture. Yep.
Okay, so this is my OS 9 build from 96 is on H1. It's actually running Nitros Beta 5. And I wrote a small script to kind of pull the patterns, pointers, icons, a couple of select applications off of H1, put them on DD. So here's Multiview running on Beta 5, and it doesn't look very much like Beta 5.
I like the teal background and the white foreground. It looks kind of OS 2-ish, kind of early Windows OS 2 era looking stuff here. I like that.
Teal is about as mid-90s as you can get.
Yeah.
Actually, the one that Bill favored running too back in the day, he had a bit of teal mixed in with some grays and stuff too.
Yeah, I like that.
I noticed you're somehow missing the door on your CM8, which is weird.
That's standard.
I went to too many CoCo Fests over the years, and that door is probably still in Elgin somewhere.
Nick Marentes, I have to ask you, what do you think of the original trash can icon?
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's got a crappy trash.
It's really not good.
I drew all these icons, but I never fixed the trash can. We're going to have to hire in Nick for that. And then the other thing that I managed to do was load works pretty well. So here is SuperCom 2.3 running through a fast 232 to Minicom on my Pi. It's all working. Throughput is absolutely in the basement, so I'm not sure what's wrong. Maybe because I've got a 25-year-old driver running on Beta 5. But it's working, so I guess we've got something to work from.
Neat.
Yeah, I'll be helping you disassemble both SuperCom itself and the Fast 232 driver, so we can get it documented and stuff, and maybe do some improvements to it. And then I also want to use that as the base code for some of the other Fast 232 16550 base stuff, like the Mega Mini multi-pack from Ed Snyder that has that same chip. So hopefully we can actually get this fast I/O running on all of them.
Paul Barton's making a fast RS-232 also.
Yeah, he had one as an Ocan 3.
What is he calling it? Like the Serial X?
Yeah, it was something like that, wasn't it?
Serial
yeah,
X. Yeah, everything's got to have an X in it now, you know. So
He's got the disto.
Extreme.
It looks like he has a disto controller.
The real-time clock X.
Yeah.
That's that may be a disto. I do not remember now.
It's either disto or an eliminator,
It looks like
by the
a
metal case.
Yeah, looks like mine over here.
Yeah, I believe it is a 4-ROM disto.
Yep.
And then, of course, an SDC. And then the Fast 232 is a customer return. Notice the burning under the 1488.
Wow.
My customers never abused anything, and I never had to give anyone a return for products that weren't my fault. But anyway, I recycle all the burn stuff for myself, so I have a very many broken
that
things.
looks it's got some distinguished characterization going on there. So yeah.
I like the fact you're running Supercom at 115.2 kilobaud too. That's cool.
So, and like I say, the throughput's in the basement, but that's probably something to do with something.
Does the Dell keyboard work with CoCo, or is that for the PC?
Well, no, that's just so I can be on the Pi and the CoCo at the same time. As I
see.
sort out. I'm pulling files off of my old hard drive, and that's kind of the best way to do it is to dump it to a Pi, and then I can throw the SD into my Linux box, and there we go. Let's see, can I get back to my regular screen? It's gone. I've lost it.
I see your picture. I see you now. Wallpaper.
I'm trying to get back to Zoom, but I can't find it.
You want me to stop sharing for you? I can do that if you want.
Sure. That would probably fix me. My menu went away.
Okay.
It's usually at the top.
No, it's fine. We got it. We got it. All right, Rick.
Yeah,
thanks for sharing that.
Things are very strange in Linux world here. Zoom is its own animal. Oh yeah, here we go. And then I am also working on my another Fast 232. I have now gotten the old diagram out of Disto SDC and copied it into a modern program. And I'm going to look at making like a surface mount version, maybe dual ports with a real-time clock or something like that. Just to get my hand back into.
Apparently there's a market.
I'm trying to get my hand back into hardware again, and I figured a known quantity would be a good start. So
that's neat. Neat. James Jones is saying when he saw the new trash can in Ease of Use 5, he first thought it was a fire hydrant.
You need a dog next to it to leak on it.
Right.
It's a fire hydrant for Nick Marenti's ego, I think is what he means there.
Speaking of Nick Marenti's, I believe he had something he wanted to share with us today.
We're sorry. Yes, I'll just share a screen. Basically, I was just going to show what my latest developments are in my my latest game.
Absolutely.
Bring that up. I've just got a slideshow. I haven't got any video for it. So, is that coming up?
Yes. Oh, that looks really good.
Okay, so that's just a title screen on the game I've called Rally SG, which I'll go into more of the technical stuff a bit later on. But basically, it's a CoCo version of Rally X from the arcades, which is this game. So that's Rally X in the arcades.
Yeah.
Now, unless I code it for a CoCo 3, it's not going to be very easy getting that exact graphics and colors and resolution on anything but a CoCo 3. But I've set myself a goal that this will be a CoCo 1, 2, 3, and Dragon game. So I had to pick, obviously, video modes that were compatible with the CoCo 1, 2, and Dragon. So I've chosen to do the game or create the game in semi-graphics, which is this. So this is what I've got so far, modeled on the arcade Rally X.
Nightmare Rally X.
That's right. Hence why I called it Rally SG, because it uses the SG graphics mode, which is a mode whereby you can actually get color on a CoCo 1 and 2.
Yeah.
How many colors?
8 colors.
9 including black.
9. Yeah.
Not including black, I guess.
9.
So Black's not a color.
This is
Yes. So just in a quick summary, so it's a game I'm designing for CoCo 1, 2, 3, and Dragon. So it'll work on any CoCo as long as you have the second option down, 64K. So 64K of RAM is needed. And it's a game that'll have all 8 colors on the screen in a slightly higher res than what you see on the text screen by using Semi-Graphics 8 mode. Semi-Graphics 8 mode has a resolution of 64 by 64 in 8 colors. Now, Semi-Graphics does have limitations whereby you can only have a color plus black in every byte. So I've designed the game to work within that limitation. I've come up with something which is looks good. The part on the left, the part where there's the green area on the left part of the screen, that's the part that scrolls on the whole game. You know, so it has 4-way scrolling to a larger map, which is why it needs 64K of RAM. The map is consumes about 32K of RAM, the main map of the game, and you're seeing a window of that bigger map on the actual play screen.
Will there be aliens?
There's enemy cars. So if you've never seen Rally X before, you drive, and I'll just go back a screen. You drive a blue car. It's basically a capture the flag type car race game, whereby you drive your car in this big maze, and you have enemy cars up to 6. So as you progress in the game, it goes from say 3 enemy red cars, works its way up to 6, and you've got to dodge them. Their job is to get you, but your job is to collect all the flags. And on the right hand side is a radar display of what the whole map looks like, of which you're this bright blue dot here. Shows you where you are. The black dots are where the enemy red cars are, and the dark blue dots is where the flags are. So you have to navigate to get to those flags and collect them all. And by collect them all, and you've completed that first challenge, and you move on to the next level. But of course, the radar doesn't show you where the map is. So you've got to navigate your way, similar to the game Steve York's Megabug, where you're only seeing, well, in this case, you do see the big maze. In Megabug, you see the big maze and you've got a magnifying glass. This is different. You don't see the big maze, and all you can see is essentially the magnifying glass. So you see a window of the big map. So it's basically like a kart race game where you're driving around collecting the flags and dodging the enemy cars. And it's currently it's going, but I haven't got a video of it as yet. The last item on the list there, sound to be determined. So I'm still working on the sound.
And you forgot to mention the smoke screen too.
Well, yeah. I mean, you don't have guns in this one. You don't drive around shooting anything. You're just being chased by these red cars. But one way you can dodge the red cars, I suppose, is you can send a smoke cloud behind you, which if there's any cars tailing you, they can't get through the smoke cloud, and they usually turn around or give up the chase. But the smoke cloud's there only for a short time, and then it disappears. So that's the only weapon as such that you've got, the smoke cloud. In the game, you've got fuel, which is, if I go back again, you see the yellow bar on the right-hand side. That's like a fuel gauge. So for every challenge, you've got a certain amount of fuel. And as you drive, that fuel is being burnt. And if you use smoke as a smoke deterrent, you burn a bit more fuel. So you've got to conserve your fuel if you want to complete the round. And when you complete the round, depending on how much, whatever amount of fuel you have left, you get a score for that. So the quicker you complete the round, the less you use the smoke, the more will be the bonus score at the end of the round. And that's basically it so far. So at the moment, the game is currently about 3/4 of the way finished. And I plan to release this as a downloadable, a digital download or a CD as well.
Not on ROM carts?
Not on ROM carts, no. It's too expensive to do ROM carts. So yeah, I'll be just selling this as a low price title.
You could have it squirt out an oil slick too to make the red cars go slip all over the road.
Well, that's possible as well, but yeah.
There was a version of Rally X that had, maybe that was New Super Rally X or something. There was a version that had
yeah, I think that might be in the new, the upgraded Rally X. Yeah, I got no plans to do that at this moment, but we'll see how we go.
That'll be new Super Rally SG.
Well,
another game for the future challenge.
Sure.
Commodore users might.
Absolutely.
Hey, Nick,
users
I was always under the impression that the CoCo 3 didn't support semi-graphics modes.
Yeah,
I always thought it.
That's a myth. It does support semi-graphics. What it doesn't do is in semi-graphics on the CoCo 1, 2, is that you can actually display the text, the normal VDG text as well as the semi-graphics. The CoCo 3 can't do that, but it does the graphics. So it just means a lot of these semi-graphic games, they'll have the semi-graphics, but they might have a part, for the score, they might use the normal text.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the normal text won't show on a CoCo 3. So the easy way is just do the score in the graphics as well, and that's all I've done there. And
that's one thing that Gimme X supports.
Well, apparently that's one of the things it will fix. It'll make the semi-graphics to be fully compatible with the CoCo 1 and 2. But the actual graphics, it's there on a CoCo 3. So this game's running perfectly at the moment on any CoCo with 64K that I put it on.
Yeah, but just one Gimme register, you set a value depending which semi-graphics mode you want, if you want 8, 12, 24, etc.
That's all. It's just
that's all you got to do, and then it works fine, except for the text.
Cool.
Yeah, except for the text.
Nick, when you test these, do you have a CoCo 1 and 2?
I have one, but I haven't got it set up. So I do all the development here on the CoCo 3, and then of course I pipe it across to my PC, and I can run it through XRAW or MAME, the CoCo 1 and 2 emulator on that, and just to verify that it works. And then every now and then I'll pull out the old CoCo 1, set it up, and just confirm everything's working. And at the moment, everything's working perfectly.
Cool.
And it's designed to run on a 6809, and it runs at the slow clock rate, so it'll be the same speed on every machine.
Yeah. Neat.
Very cool.
I was just going to say that people that aren't familiar with Rally X, if they had a Commodore or something, or a friend with a Commodore, they might know it by the name of Radar Rat Race.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, a friend of mine had that on his Commodore.
And there is a version of Rally X in P Mode 3 or P Mode 1 graphics, I should say, on the Dragon. I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's not as colorful as this one.
Well, yeah. Well, I wanted color. I mean, I've got a color computer. I want to see color.
Yeah. This is kind of a throwback to the Neutroid.
Well, Neutroid was my first CoCo game, and the reason I did that because I wanted color. I wasn't going to do a P Mode 4 game, especially since we don't have artifacting down here in Powerland. Yeah. So I didn't want a black and white color computer. I wanted color.
Well, you could do green and white, that's the color choice you got.
Well, that's monochrome. Let's call it monochrome then.
Right. Your choice of any one color, as long as it's
now
black
semi-graphics. Yeah, you do have other semi-graphics modes. They're all maximum horizontally of 64, but vertically it can vary right up to 192. So there are higher res ones, I chose the Semigraphics 8 because it creates a fairly square pixel, 64 by 64. As you can see in the radar, those are the pixel sizes.
Right.
I wanted a square pixel, and it only takes up 2K.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll have a lot of room for digitized heavy sounds.
I could, but yeah, as I said, the sound is to be determined. I'm still trying to work out what to do with the sound, so I don't know yet.
Yeah. Plus, you're still running at 0.895 megahertz here to make it
I'm
run
running
CoCo
it at
1s and 2s. So.
0.89, so it's half the speed of what I'm used to coding on the CoCo 3.
Yeah,
So
and no timer interrupt either. So you got to
no timer interrupt, and yeah, so many. I have not programmed a CoCo 1 and 2 game since 1986. That was when I did Donut.
Well, except for Waterfall.
Yeah, I guess so.
You don't give that game enough respect.
That was
a great game.
That was just a quick sideline project.
There's always a smart aleck, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. But as for a main program, I haven't done anything that programs the CoCo 1 and 2 specifically since 86. So after all these years of programming on a CoCo 3 and going back, oh boy, I do miss the gimme chip, the timer interrupts, and even the 6309 now that I've done Gunstar. It is so much better. But I just set myself that restriction. This is going to be a CoCo 1, 2, 3, and Dragon game. So I'm going right back to the roots.
James will be porting it to the MC10, right?
Jim Geary has already done.
You don't have semi-graphics modes on the MC10 except for SG4.
Yeah. So you don't subscribe to my thought that the CoCo 2 is all you really need.
Nick,
I thought love was all
you need. It's not what I want.
Nick, how many computers do you think CoCo 1 and 2 are upgraded to the 6309?
I'm not sure. The fact that you can upgrade the processor in those much easier because a lot of those had a socketed CPU. But again, I'm restricting myself to a 6809 unmodified.
Yeah,
CoCo.
stock experience.
So yeah, that's it. This is a retro hobby. I'm going to do this retro.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's really cool.
Not all of us are in the 1%.
Yeah. How many people here have a 1 or 2 with a 6309?
I do.
Yes.
That's why I had a problem with the game that we had a few weeks ago with the bounce. What was it? It was
Grabber.
Grabber.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course I optimized some games for the CoCo 1 and 2 with the 6309 too, so there is an advantage to having it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see how big a market there will be because I mean I've had fairly good sales with my Gunstar being a CoCo 3, even being 6309 specific. I was actually quite surprised by the number of people who ended up buying it. That tells me there's a lot of people out there with a 6309.
I've been telling you that for 25 years, Nick.
Emulators as well, though.
Yeah, but 25 years ago, there wasn't as many.
Or emulators.
Patrick will agree with me. There was tons of 639s back then. Everybody was running OS9 had a 639 just about.
Yeah. So
I sold so many upgrades back then.
I'm curious.
Hundreds and hundreds. We sold hundreds with Nitrous 9 bundled.
Well, this game's open to CoCo 3 users, CoCo 1, 2, and even Dragon. So if I could purchase a Ferrari with Gunstar sales, I should be able to get several Lamborghinis.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe a space shuttle.
You might be able to get a Maybach or something.
There's still room in my shoebox to fit a few more. So
you have room for a Learjet on your property somewhere, don't you?
I'll have to increase my shoe size.
That's cool, Nick.
Well, Nick, do you have an expected rough release date on it? Like, are you looking for for a month or two from now, or are you kind of still playing it by ear?
I reckon it could be done within another 2 months. It depends on whether I go into the old trap of feature creep, of course. I keep adding to it. So, yeah, I've got to draw a line. But, yeah, 2 months is possible.
Okay, and does it come with a real-time clock?
Do you want me to program one in?
Does it come with a steering wheel pack in?
I just want to hear the Hemi
virtual
sound.
reality goggles.
Yeah. V8.
Everybody's talking about real-time clocks. Does it have a sound chip?
We'll wait about that one.
Talking about clock speeds and everything, and going right back to the original clock speed, something I've always been curious about, but never really known the answer to. Usually when you run something faster or push something harder or whatever, you're pushing the hardware harder and it shortens the life of it. Has anybody ever experienced shortened lifespans by running the 65495 or 65497 poke on the CoCo 3?
Nope.
Yeah, nope. Yeah, I've always run the high-speed pokes when I've been doing something that needs extra speed, which is most of the time. A lot of my programs start with poke 65495 or whatever. And I've never had a problem myself, but I was just curious whether anyone else had. So yeah, it's good to know.
All right.
No, the very first earliest CoCo ones, you did have to snip some capacitors out to get that to work. Otherwise, it would freeze when you did that poke.
That'd be like D board.
I think that was the D board.
Yeah, the C and the D board had that problem. I had a D board. I had to get that modification done, but the E's and up, even Tandy realized everybody was using it, so they fixed it.
Yeah, my E board, it worked.
Yeah, it works fine on my E board too.
All right, is that the end of that presentation there, Nick?
Yep.
It's looking really good. Thanks for sharing that. And I think Brian Weasler, you had something you wanted to share with us as well.
Yes, something I recently picked up here. I recently joined the Terry Steaky Club, and I got myself a TDP.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's gonna need a little cleaning. It also has a single bad memory chip in it. So I was
no
able
extra
to
cost.
What's that? No extra cost. No.
Yeah.
So I was able to. Yep, there it is. Yep. So it's gonna need a little cleaning. But it.
What's the serial number like?
It's numeric.
1914, 1914. So.
Yeah. Congratulations, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I got that, and then because a while back here, I actually had this book that came with a CoCo package that I got. I don't know, it was in with a group of stuff. So now I got a manual to go with or a computer to go with the manual. Maybe a better way of saying it. So. And then I was going to say I had one thing, but I do have one other thing I'd like to share just a little bit because it was kind of a fun little project. I'll just share my screen real quick here.
Does it have to do with a real-time clock?
No, no real-time clock. Is this coming through okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was something, Boise Pete has his CoCo collector videos going. And in one of his videos, he had commented that he had put some of his CoCos that didn't have original boxes into boxes so he could store them. And I had a number of CoCos, and this is more than just CoCos in here. There's some CoCos and some other systems, but mostly CoCos. I went out onto Amazon and I actually found a box that's 15 by 15 by 4. And a CoCo 1 fits into them beautifully. A CoCo 2 obviously would fit in there very nicely. But I went and, because I had them all kind of stored in a tub, stacked on top of each other. If I wanted to find a certain one, I had to kind of rummage through it all. Well, I went and I made labels, and I put each one into its own box. So it's made it a little bit nicer to keep it a little more organized and stuff. So that was kind of a fun little project I did this past week as well.
What do those boxes cost?
I want to say a bundle. Well, let's see if you give me just a couple seconds here.
Yes. And can you provide a link?
I can provide a link here. I can do that. I can share that with the group there. Give me 1 second here. Just a couple taps of my finger here.
It looks good though.
I think you need some Ron Delvaux stickers on those boxes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go.
Make them look pretty.
This week on CoCo Hoarders.
CoCo Hoarders.
It's not
The first step is admitting that you have a problem.
Yeah, it's not collecting. Organized.
I wonder if you could get those boxes in white.
That would be new. That'd be nice.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Here we are. It was a bundle of 25, and they were $27.25, so about $1
like
a box.
$1 a box.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Neat.
And so yeah, they're 15 by 15 by 4. So
Okay.
Yeah, I can. Where you guys want me to put that link out there?
You can put it in Zoom.
Just send it to
post
me,
in
Brian. Don't send it to anybody else. Just send it to me.
if you want to put it in the Zoom chat, I can post it out the YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, because that will be recorded as part of the show. So.
Yep.
They'll become like toilet paper. Everybody will have them and they'll be none available.
They were kind of nice. I mean, it's not a necessarily a high quality box, but hey, they're just stacked there. So
yeah, no, that's neat.
So in another couple of years, somebody will be
getting scratched.
Somebody will be making reproduction CoCo boxes.
That thought actually crossed my mind. Is I don't know what that would take or what kind of volume a person has to order, but that would be kind of cool to have a mock,
But
a
the
mock
CoCo
box.
box it starts out as pretty. It starts out as a flat, cutout, and then you fold it.
It's one thing I wish I'd kept. It's one thing I wish I'd kept my original box for my original CoCo, but I didn't, unfortunately.
Right. Thank you. That's all I had to show.
Neat.
That's cool.
Did anybody else have anything to do? Because I was going to save myself for last before we put the show out of its misery. No, we're good. All right. So how do I'm trying to, I used to be able to spotlight stuff, mute my video, stop video, spotlight video. Yeah, I'm having a hard time with that spotlight thing. All right, so this week has been my Raspberry Pi week and my Cocoa Pi week, and so I've actually ordered a Cocoa Pi 4 now that's supposed to be here today, and there's going to be a new image of the Cocoa Pi project for the Pi 4 that I'm hopefully going to be setting up today too, but my Cocoa Pi 3 is going to be in my living room, and it's going to be kind of like my Coco gaming console. So I figured, what's the coolest way to control my Pi 3 in my living room? And I got this item here. Let me turn on the backlit keyboard here. So, wake up. All right, can you guys see this?
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, so this is a backlit keyboard. It is completely rechargeable and stuff. So you got all your different keys.
Is it chiclet?
It is chiclety, yes. So it's a backlit keyboard, and it just has a single little USB receiver you plug in. It's like 2.4 gigahertz wireless. But check this out. When you turn it around, dun 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 dun. What is it? It is
that's cool.
A very Xbox 360 Xbox-like controller. So it's got two analog thumbsticks here. It's got your 4 buttons here. It's got some bumpers and some triggers. And so this is going to be like I'm mostly going to be playing games on the CoCo in my living room. And when I need to use the keyboard, I've got a little keyboard here. And this all fits kind of in the palm of your hand. This was like $23 on Amazon. So it's pretty cheap.
Is there a cover for the bottom?
What do you mean, cover for the bottom?
So you're not typing your name backwards.
Well, no, what it is there's a switch. So when you look at it here, there's a switch that switches between keyboard or joystick. So it'll be one or the other. Right? Yeah. It's got caps lock, slide on, and stuff.
Is that like a little touchpad down the bottom there?
Yeah, this is your touchpad, and that works pretty good. I actually plugged it into my PC, so that works pretty good.
Bluetooth?
No, it's not Bluetooth. It's just got a generic RF receiver.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for $23, as long as it's halfway decent, I don't expect this thing to be amazing, but it should be decent. And then this is just kind of opening up this whole thing of using the Cocoa Pi out in my living room as kind of this convenience toy to play with that I can just do some fun things with. Like right now, I've got it running Ron Klein's high color images on a slideshow on my 60-inch TV. It's just running through CoCo images on my TV.
Ron Delvaux.
Ron Delvaux. Sorry about that. Yeah, thank you, Ron. I'll be able to boot up Nitrous 9 ease of use beta and use it.
Finally, a good use for it.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So and so my original Cocoa Pi 3.
Look at that trash can.
Yeah, I've had it for 3 years. I've done nothing with it. It's going in the living room now. It's going to get used every day. My Cocoa Pi 4 is going to be used for running Pi DriveWire. Going to be doing cross-assembly development on it and more serious type stuff, as well as emulations too. So whenever I can, rather than running, whenever I'm going to run, if I need to run MAME, I'm just going to run it on my Cocoa Pi. So I'm finally now starting to jump on that bandwagon and use this project, and there's a million things you can do with it, and I'm just barely scratching the surface of it. So I'm excited about the future.
So is there going to be a Cosmic Aliens for the CoCo?
Well, there is. I just need to finish
I
it.
mean, yeah, with Sparks.
With Sparks.
So
okay, we'll see.
So now you have an MC10 sized keyboard for your modern CoCo.
Yes. Yes. And I believe this would also hold the door open for me too if I really tried. So so the question is, do you guys think we need to do a caboose, or you think we've talked enough for now, and maybe we can just do maybe a gaming session tonight with Timberman?
I'd say a gaming session later tonight. Save our energy. I mean.
All right. So before we run the closing credits, let's just go ahead and do parting thoughts now. David O'Connor, any final words from you?
Keep on CoCoing.
All right. I couldn't say it better myself. L. Curtis Boyle.
Oh, check out the new game entries on the game site and let us know if there's any games that look pretty interesting that you guys maybe have not played before. You can give suggestions to Nick for a future Game On segment. Some of the games there I even hadn't seen before that I've gone through. And also check out the manual stuff we've added for you and see if you find any spelling mistakes there. We've had a few people look through it, but we would like to get some fresh set of eyes. And any of you people that do programming under Nitrous 9 or are interested in it, you take a look at the windowing section of the manual we put up and see if it's actually well laid out and easily explains like how those new commands and stuff work, or if there's any questions, anything we should fix. That when we start getting the other parts of the manual done, that we can hit the ground running properly right off the start. If there's some suggestions you guys have.
Yeah, speaking of Nitrous 9, it's on the CoCo Pi image, so you can boot up the latest EOU beta from your CoCo Pi. It's a simple one-step process. You just click it on the menu and it boots and you're in there, and it works, and it's really cool. So check that out. Nick Marotta, any parting thoughts from you, sir?
Yeah, just thanks again, everybody, for the positive response with the Game On challenge. And again, score does not matter. If I've seen posts where, I only made it to this level and my score wasn't good enough, so I didn't submit. Just submit. We're just having fun playing together. So I really appreciate the response. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Ron Delvaux, thank you for being here, sir.
Yeah. Hey, I've been playing with my Pi too. It's a lot of fun, I must say. You can switch things, go back and forth, and do stuff lightning fast.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier than juggling with the CoCo 3, but I get nostalgic. And you know what I'm thinking of doing is making like a 3-tier table or something, so I could stick all my computers on one big area and then blow a fuse.
You'd be like Paul Schaefer with all your keyboards all around.
I got to do something. I have to keep setting up a temporary table.
1.21 gigawatts.
Yeah, that's my last thought.
Mark Bosley, parting thoughts.
Last thought.
No, they've parted.
All right, Rick Hewlin.
Well, I guess I'm done with restoration. It's time to start breaking things.
There you go, moving it up, kicking it up a notch. Brian Weasler, the guy who not only gets books but also gets boxes. What are your parting thoughts?
Just thanks everybody for joining. Keep CoCoing and have a safe rest of your weekend.
No, very good. Terry Steggy.
Well, to reply to Nick's comment, I got in the top 10 and I am proud of it and I don't care. Or not.
And bragging rights, yeah.
Everybody have a great Memorial weekend. Be safe. And
absolutely. Yeah.
What
do you guys think about doing maybe a special Monday show? It's not like I'm going out to the beach or anything on Memorial Day, so maybe we can do a Monday show.
Why not? What time of the day it is?
It's supposed to be raining. Give us some notice.
Yeah. All right. Paul Shoemaker, thanks for being here. And you've had some really impressive scores over the past few weeks in Game On Challenge, so you're quite the gamer.
Yeah, this last one I really enjoyed, and there's a couple I haven't played. Grabber I didn't try because for some reason the game didn't look like it would appeal to me.
Did
so
it
I think
not?
This one
they won't all.
Did it not grab you?
It did not grab me. But Timberman is a very good game, and for any of you guys who haven't tried it yet, then maybe we'll try it for this first time. Then I think you're going to enjoy it. Paul, he did a really nice job with it.
Okay, Alan Murphy suggests a Monday game stream. That's not a bad idea. I could just go through my CoCo Pi. Jason Reichard.
Oh, I'm already ready. I got Timberman ready to go.
Oh, look at you!
Whenever you're ready.
You're ready to start chopping.
Ready to start chopping.
David Ladd, are you still with us? You've been muted. Are you there? I see your smiling face. right, we'll see if David comes back.
Oh, he's happy breaking things.
Okay, Coco Man, time for you to do your David Ladd impression.
Thanks for showing up, everyone. I'm off to handle my grease weasel maintenance.
Oh, I'm much happier breaking stuff.
That's right. Nick Marentes, thanks for showing us off the latest Rally SG. Any parting thoughts from you?
Stop right there.
Stop right there. That is such a great impression of a bad impression.
I'm not sure if Alan Huffman's here or not. He's been muted too. Alan, are you with us? We're waiting on David Ladd, and then James Different. You might have the final word.
Oh, I was kind of hoping Tim Linder'd be on today to tell us that he had finished the MCX 128 support for MAME. We were debugging it the other night.
Okay. Well, he might be on Discord later on, so we'll have to check that out.
He's maybe a future announcement there.
Okay. All right, well, we're going to run the outro. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, everybody in the live chat. We've had a banging day in the live chat here today.
Oh,
Robert,
Stevie.
Yes.
Is this everybody's favorite part of the show?
Listen.
This may be.
We're getting ready for
favorite part of the show.
Everybody's
Jim
favorite
Brains
part of
for
the
sure.
show. Yes, everyone's favorite part of the show, the outro. David Brenneman was here, and Robert Murphy, Salvador Garcia, James Jones, Ken Reichert, Ben Explorer, VR Drakes, and David Brenneman and Coco Man and Diego was here, and Robert Murphy, Dave and Sharon, Mr. Dave 6809, Canadian Retro Things has been here, Terry Steggy. We have All Retro Innovation stopped by. Tim Linder had stopped by. DeBruce Moore had stopped by. Jim Gary was in the live chat. We just had live chat galore. So Tom C was out here. Paul Fiscarelli was out here. James Jones. So yeah, thank you all who have been watching. Thank you all who have been here. Thank you all for all you do for our community. We're going to throw the switch here. We're going to play the outro for everyone's favorite part of the show, where we stop. All right, so here we go. This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at CoCoTalk.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to CoCoTalk@CoCoTalk.live.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, click the Patreon link at our website at CoCoTalk.live.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
CoCoTALK would not exist without the community, its past, crew, and contributors. Thanks go to Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Mark Overholzer, Grant Leedy, Bruce Moore, Nick Marentes, Ron Delvaux, Rick Adams, Jason Reichert, Richard Lorbieski, Jim Brain, Tom C., Rob Inman, Mark Bosley, Brian Joyce, Ken Reichert, David O'Connor, Brian Weasler, Terry Steggy, Nick Marotta, John Strong, and many more, especially to Steve Bjork for production suggestions and James Different for making my head explode. Please help support the CoCo community by visiting some of its various contributors. A list of resources is available at imacoconut.com. That's IMACOCONUT.com. The CoCoTALK theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Sheeler. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. And every time I see Terry Steen at the end of that outro, I always forget to close with, no actual furniture was injured during the making of this show here today on CoCoTALK. And all right, so say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
This is
Next week.
This is
Frank.
literally everyone's favorite part of the show where we press the button, Frank.